Good afternoon and welcome to the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole for April 21st, 2026. My name is Oreen Chowdhury and I am the chair of this committee. We're finally back to our standard council structure and have said goodbye to Super Cow meetings. With that, I'll call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Payne.
Present.
Wansley.
Present.
Greenville.
Present.
Vita.
Present.
Warren.
Present.
Osmond is absent. Schaefer.
Present.
Stevenson.
Present.
Chavez.
Present.
Whiting.
Present.
Palmisano.
Present.
Vice Chair Chugtai.
Present.
And Chair Chowdhury.
Present.
There are 12 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Before we begin this meeting, let me offer a friendly reminder to everyone that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. The broadcasts include real-time captioning to increase accessibility for the entire community, so it's important that all speakers be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to please moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. Colleagues, our agenda is in front of us. I will begin with the report of our standing committees first and then pick up on the consent agenda. After that, we will have our public hearing and then discussion items and end with our one receive and file. Are there any questions about that order or any amendments to our agenda?
Madam Chair,
Council President Payne.
I need to add to our agenda a resolution for a gift acceptance.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, we have that amendment before us to amend the agenda. Councilmember Chavez.
Chair Chowdhury, I'd like to amend the agenda as well, accepting gift acceptance from Community Solutions for transportation, hotel, accommodations, and meals for Libby Murphy.
Could I get a motion perhaps to take both of these together if there is no objection?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the two items from Council President Payne and Councilmember Chavez to amend the agenda. Are there any further amendments? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. That carries and the agenda is amended. With that, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All
Chair
those in favor say
Chowdhury, may
aye.
I interrupt quickly? I believe there is a legislative directive that needs to be moved as well.
So who needs to get in queue?
I do.
All right, Vice Chair Chugtai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I sincerely apologize. I just want to make an amendment to this agenda to add a legislative directive authored by myself and Councilmember Vita for the body's consideration today, and I'll move that amendment to the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Great, okay. With that motion before us, Councilmember Vita, do you want to speak to it?
I just want to make sure you can see that I'm.
Microphone.
I can't,
I just want to make sure that you can see I'm in queue because I was before too.
I did not see it earlier. I
Okay.
see you in it now.
All right, thank you.
Okay, great. So with the motion before us, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. That motion carries and the agenda is amended. And so now may I have a motion to adopt the agenda that's before us?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. That carries. Now we will do our report from our standing committees. We will begin with the Enterprise and Labor Relations Committee chaired by Councilmember Palmisano.
Madam Chair, the ELR Committee has 8 items to bring forward to Council on Thursday. Item number 1 is a contract with Claims Management for subrogation and related services. Item 2 is a contract with Paymentus for an enterprise payment platform. Item number 3 is a contract amendment with Automated Logic Minnesota for a building automation system service and maintenance. Item 4 is a contract amendment with NAC Building Technologies for a building automation system service and maintenance. Item number 5 is for West Publishing Online Legal Research Services. Item 6 is a contract with HDR Architecture for engineering and consulting services. Item 7 is a contract amendment with Wold for additional architectural and engineering design services for Phase 3 of City Hall office space renovation. And item number 8 is a bid for Prospect Park Water Tower restoration. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Palmisano. I recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. I also followed up over email about this because I know this was issue that came up at the beginning of the term, but I have questions related to item number 7, which is the contract with HDR Architecture, Inc. for architectural and engineering consulting services. I know with our committee structure, we were adamant about moving subject-based contracts to their appropriate committee. I know I saw one of these before in climate and infrastructure and recommended that it be moved to PHSE. We've taken something up similar like that in that committee, so I just wanted to know why this was put in ELR. And this might just be something that we have to follow up on just for continuity going forward with both Council President Payne and then the respective committee chairs.
Councilmember Wansley, do you want a response from anyone that might have it, or is that something you want to take offline?
I think staff memo, again, there's already been an email sent to clerks about this, and then likely follow up with Council President Payne around just making sure that there's a memo to be sent out about clarifications on where these contracts go.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for bringing that forward. Are there any other questions on this committee report? Okay. Next, we will go to Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, and we'll go to the chair, Chair Osmond, for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Biz Committee will be bringing 12 items on the council on Thursday. Item 1 approves housing revenue bond for the Benoit Commons project. Item 2 approves the land sale apart from Minneapolis Homes property purchase program. Item 3 approves a liquor license. Item 4 approves 22 liquor license renewals. Item 5 approves 2 gambling license. Item 6 approves renaming application from Councilmember Vita. Item 7 amends a resolution by updating legal language. Item 8 authorizes cooperative funding agreement for fair housing. Item 9 authorizes agreement related to easement and utilities. Item 10 grants a parkland dedication fee waiver to the Malcolm Yachts project. Item 11 accepts grants award from Met Council Livable Communities. And lastly, item 12 approves Spring Brownfield grant application. With that, I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
Great. I am not seeing any questions, and then I don't know if anyone else is having trouble hearing each other. I'm going to encourage everyone to speak louder than they think as they speak into our microphones. And next, we'll go to Climate and Infrastructure Committee. That is a report that will be given by its chair, Chair Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. The Climate and Infrastructure Committee has 12 items to bring forward. The first is a passage of resolutions for the project approval, assessment, and areaway abandonment for the Logan Park Industrial Reconstruction Project. Number 2, and by the way, this requires 9 votes. The second is a passage of resolutions for the project approval and assessment for the Northrop Residential Resurfacing Project. Number 3 is authorizing an agreement with Minnesota Department of Transportation for landscaping improvements at the Triangle Park downtown Minneapolis. Number 4 is authorizing an agreement with Minnesota Department of Transportation for landscaping improvements at the West Bank. Number 5 is approving the Art of Rural Large Block Event Permit, May 15th through 17th, 2026. 6 is approving the Edina Art Fair Large Block Event Permit, June 5th through the 7th, 2026. 7 is approving the Prince Celebration 10th Anniversary Celebration of Life Block Event Permit, June 6th and 7th of 2026. 8 is passage of resolution related to the Marshall Street Northeast Reconstruction Project. 9 is accepting the low bid for dewatering gate site improvements at 4300 Marshall Avenue Northeast. 10 is accepting the low bid for the traffic marking First Avenue South and Nicollet Avenue project. 11 is authorizing a contract amendment with PCI Roads LLC for the 2025 concrete pavement rehabilitation project. 12 is a passage of resolutions for the project designation and cost estimate for the 38th Street and Chicago Avenue Street reconstruction project. The committee also set a public hearing for June 4th, 2026. Something else that also came about in this committee, which is in your respective inboxes, is that we're starting the work plan to craft priorities for our climate and infrastructure work for this term. So I ask that all council members follow up with your priorities so that we can spend the next several months submitting that before our last June CNI meeting, where we will, as a committee and then ultimately as a body, approve of the comprehensive work plan that will shape our work on that body. So with that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Rainville? Oh, I just have you in queue. Oh, you're here for the,
Excuse me, I punched the wrong button.
no worries. Seeing no questions, we will go to the Public Health and Safety Equity Committee, and we'll get the report from its chair, Chair Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. The Public Health, Safety, and Equity Committee will be bringing forward 11 items. Item number 1 is considering a passage of an ordinance related to immigration status of renters. Item number 2 is passage of an ordinance, and this was moved forward without recommendation. Item number 2 is passage of an ordinance related to encampment reporting policy. Item number 3 is authorizing the submittal of a grant application to the United States Department of Justice, the JAG grant through Hennepin County. Item number 4 is authorizing the submittal of a grant application to the Federal Office of National Drug Control Policy for drug nexus supplies. Item number 5 is accepting a grant from the Minnesota School-Based Health Center Grant for Health Education Program. Item number 6 is a gift acceptance from the National Association of Food and Drug Officials. Item number 7 is approving a financial sustainability of Minneapolis neighborhood organizations legislative directive. Item number 8 is approving a rental dwelling license reinstatement. Item number 9 is approving a public safety policies and practices related to public gatherings and transparency legislative directive. Item number 10 is encampment response policy staff direction. And item number 11 is amending the Operation Metro Surge Police Department overtime expenses legislative directive reporting committee presentation date and request information. I'll stand for any questions, and we'll highlight that I will be moving item 1 for approval at the Thursday City Council meeting. You should have received an email from me. I want to let you all know that the underlying language on the ordinance are the provisions related to this new ordinance. The yellow highlights are amendments that were brought to the Public Health and Safety and Equity Committee and moved to full council. The turquoise highlights are non-substantive technical changes from the CAO. This was meant to improve readability of the ordinance. And you will receive an email from myself today that will be in red that removes a part of the ordinance that discloses to any person or entity information regarding or relating to immigration or citizenship status. And as I said last week, happy to meet with any of you if you have any questions ahead of Thursday.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, we will go to the last report from the Intergovernmental Relations Committee given by its Vice Chair Rainville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, IGR met this morning to receive our first 2026 federal and state legislative update. We received a robust presentation from Steve Huser and Lauren Olson, and I encourage my colleagues who are not able to make not able to make it today to review the meeting and presentation. The information was voted on to send to the clerk to receive and file. Thank you.
Great. There are no more reports. We will now take up our consent agenda. There is item number 2, a gift acceptance for mayor and others attending Refugees International Annual Meeting. Item number 3 is also a gift acceptance for Director of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, Michelle Rivero, to attend the Uniting for Universal Representation meeting. And item number 4 is setting a public hearing for our next Committee of the Whole on May 5th to consider an ordinance related to firearms regulations. I will also ask the body, if there's no objection, that we add the gift acceptance for Libby Murphy to attend the 2026 Large Cities Leadership Convening to our consent agenda, along with the gift acceptance or accepting a donation of travel for Council President Payne for local progress, and then the legislative directive brought forward by Vice Chair Chugtai and Councilmember Vita, add that into the consent agenda as well. Is there any discussion from members? Okay, great. Seeing no further discussion, I'll move to approve the consent agenda and set a public hearing for the firearm regulation ordinance on May 5th, 2026. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. That motion carries. Okay. I will pass the gavel over to Vice Chair Chugtai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will now begin our first public hearing on the agenda today related to a temporary pre-eviction notice extension. This item is brought forward by myself and is the lead author on it is Chair Chowdhury. And I will recognize Chair Chowdhury to introduce this item before we open up the public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I'll also note that Vice President Osman is a co-author along with Councilmember Chavez to be added. So colleagues, today before you, we have a 45-day pre-eviction notice that will be effective until August 31st. This is Pause Eviction Saves Lives. What this ordinance seeks to do is to give struggling working people of our city an extra 15 days to get the money and the support they need to pay their rent and avoid a life-altering eviction filing, and even worse, a brutal eviction that has lasting impacts that will cascade over any chances of having good housing opportunities into the future for years to come. The fact of the matter is people want to pay their rent, they want to keep their housing. They don't want to have the weight of an eviction filing holding them back, and shelter is the most essential need that anyone can have. And we can play a pivotal role in maintaining that for our residents, especially our Black, Brown, Indigenous, immigrant working residents. March filings for evictions alone have jumped 18.9% year over year in the 7-county metro, mirroring the statewide spike at 18.7%. This suggests that even in areas with the most concentrated resources and organizing, eviction pressures are intensifying as temporary support fades. The cost of living for our people across the city has only gone up, and the housing crisis has only increased. The brutality of Operation Metro Surge has only exacerbated that, tearing families apart, forcing people to choose between making a living or having a future here in Minneapolis. We have all heard the countless stories from our neighbors who have been targeted and forced into a place of economic uncertainty from a federal government, a situation that was not of their own making. Why 15 days? 43% of private employers in America pay their workers biweekly. That accounts for 73% of workers, followed by the second most popular pay frequency, weekly payments, at 23% of private employers paying their workers. 15 extra days means, for the overwhelming majority of Americans, additional income to pay for housing. We also know that even as rental assistance has passed through this body, and we anticipate and hope for additional support from the state legislature, it takes time. There are tenants waiting to access the rental support that we have passed, and they need time. There needs to be time for implementation. Mutual aid funded by our community at the grassroots continues and is also the most accessible way for neighbors to get their needs met. But the pace at which that funding is being raised has slowed and it's drying up, and they need time. Rental assistance and a 15-day increase in time for people to pay rent are not in competition with one another, even as that was how it was framed in our discussions prior. They are complementary. Rental assistance and 15 extra days goes together. And we've done the work of passing rental assistance. And again, we're waiting for implementation. And so we must create the time for people to get that funding together. This is a both-and situation. Colleagues, it was clear that the 60-day pre-eviction notice did not prevail, but the need is still there. May 1st is right around the corner, and I ask you to look at this as another path forward. I ask you to have an open mind, and I ask you to consider this for your support today so we can come together and make this happen. 15 extra days means 15 extra days before an eviction filing hits the doors of our residents.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I open the public meeting, I will share a couple notes. At the conclusion of the public hearing, we'll take up discussion from colleagues, and the chair has moved approval of this item. I'll second that. As it relates to the public hearing today, each speaker will be given 2 minutes to testify and 4 minutes if you require interpretation services. If you wish to have someone that you feel comfortable with interpret for you, please have them come up with you, and the clerks will adjust the timer to reflect the change of 4 minutes. Additionally, if you wish to address the committee during this hearing and you haven't already signed in, we invite you to register with the clerks at the registration table located in the corridor outside this chamber where you walked in. You may also provide written comments and submit those online at minneapolismn.gov/public comment. Again, that's minneapolismn.gov/public comment. Any comments that are submitted in writing will be included in the official public record of this item. Please take a few minutes to register now if you have not already done so. We are excited to welcome every person into our chambers today and hear your testimony. With that, I will now open the public hearing and welcome our first few speakers. We so far have about 17 speakers signed up today, but as this public hearing continues, at any point, if you feel like you have some comments that you would like to share or have included in the public record, please sign in and we will be excited to welcome you shortly. The first 5 speakers that we have signed up today are speaker number 1, Julie Doherty, speaker number 2, Ty Prescott, speaker number 3, Reagan Reek, speaker number 4, Juan Luis Rivera, speaker number 5, Huang Murphy. With that, I will welcome speaker number 1, Julie. Welcome.
Thank you. Chair Chowdhury, council members. My name is Julie Doherty. I live in Ward 12. I work with Isaiah and Faith in Minnesota. And I guess I want to start by saying I am really at a loss as to why this is controversial. I don't normally when I make a decision where I'm trying to balance 2 harms, somebody is going to get harmed, I look at the weight of the harm. And I think about landlords and an extra 15 days. And will that cause some consternation? Absolutely. Yes, it will. Will it put anybody out of business? I really don't think so. Conversely, look at the families that this is impacting. Look at the people that this is impacting. For anybody who believes that giving people an extra 15 days is harmful to them, I can only assume that those people have either never been evicted or never tried to find another apartment with an eviction on your record. It just seems, not to mention the trauma for families, for kids, the families who have already faced an occupation from ICE, who are now facing eviction, is just traumatizing to a point of, in comparison to the harm to a landlord. Really? Is it that much that it would cause you not to give these people an extra 15 days? It should have been an extra 30 days, it's not. But it could at least be an extra 15 days, if nothing else, to let people try to gain more money, try to have time to find another place to live, to avoid an eviction on their record. It's got to make sense in terms of the weight of the harms. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll welcome speaker number 2, Ty.
Hi, my name is Ty Prescott, and I'm a resident of Ward 5. I'm once again taking time off of work to speak in support of extension to the eviction notice period. However, I want to make it absolutely clear that it is a disgrace that we as community members are put in the position of having to beg for scraps after 6 council members chose inaction to allow eviction filings to continue, and just as 70+ community members told you that they would in March. This is because council members Rainville, Palmisano, Whiting, Schaefer, Vita, and Warren are not only bought by the landlord lobby, but because fundamentally many of you seem to believe that we do not deserve the same rights that homeowners have. Homeowners have 6 weeks and 6 months. Landlords require 2 months notice from tenants, but God forbid that we provide the same amount of notice to tenants before evicting them. The fact that each of you hold office is both a sign of how bought and sold our local politics have become, but also truly is an embarrassment to this city. You allowed St. Paul to show us up on good governance. You chose to use the outright lies told by our community housing resource partners over the data from housing policy experts so that these same partners could turn around and evict tenants over less than $100 in the month of March. Don't believe me? Ask Eric Haig from Homeline. This is because your allegiances are fundamentally not with the majority of this city, but with the wealthy LLC owners who exploit tenants in your wards, and you've chosen to neglect your constituents as a result. Councilmember Warren, in particular, has yet to respond to my multiple emails regarding various ordinances she could pursue if she was at all interested in protecting Northside renters. It's been a month. We've now seen a month of data showing that because of the inaction of the council members I mentioned, there's been a 60% increase in eviction filings in Minneapolis. Every single family that is displaced is on your hands. You are allowing landlords to finish what I started, which is to say, you are allowing for ethnic cleansing round 2. Approving this ordinance is a meager half step towards undoing the harm your inaction has caused, but it is more than nothing. If you want to help people, like many of you have claimed, you actually have to choose to act.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, I'll welcome speaker number 3, Reagan.
Hello again. My name is Reagan Ray. I am here as a Ward 3 resident renter and as the managing organizer at Homeline. Last year, Homeline's free and confidential tenant hotline advised over 5,300 households on pending eviction actions, including over 1,200 in Minneapolis alone. I have to ask everybody here, because the courthouse is directly across the plaza. Have you ever gone to the 3rd floor of the courthouse to observe eviction hearings? Have you ever accompanied somebody to their hearing to support them, to listen in on a conversation with their attorney, to take notes and help them move through the process? It's like a cattle auction. It moves very fast and it is incredibly dehumanizing. They call your name, and if you are not present, your landlord is issued a writ immediately. If you are present, there's often significant pressure to go out into the hallway and resolve this issue, settle it in the hallway in front of everybody. There's not a lot of space for privacy up there. I'll also ask, have you ever been walking through the city and observed the execution of an eviction writ of recovery by the sheriff? They call this a sheriff lockout, and it occurs enough that their office has a scheduling form online so that you can get on the docket. Have you seen people's entire lives thrown out onto the sidewalk? I have. I've seen both of these things. They're horrible, and it is incredibly challenging to conjure any sense of hope in either of those situations. If you had been witness to the violence of these systems, I do not believe that any of you would be able to vote no on this ordinance. I think you would be fighting a lot harder to ensure that these people and their families are able to stay in their homes. Every day between January and March of this year, 15 households on average had an eviction filed against them in the city of Minneapolis. That is 38 people every day facing an eviction.
Thank you.
38.
Thank you.
Every day.
Next, I'll welcome speaker number 4, Juan Luis.
Hello, my name is Juan Luis. I am a coalition organizer with the Alliance for Metropolitan Stability. I am a member of the Housing Justice League, a Minneapolis renter in Ward 7, and a son of immigrants and someone who deeply cares about our city. We have a chance to prevent some of the long-term economic, cultural, and health harms that come with displacing renters, especially renters of color in Minneapolis. The federal attack on our city cost us millions in lost wages and lost revenue, threatening to displace tens of thousands of Minneapolis renters. But we fought back and came together to raise millions in mutual aid and government rental assistance. The need is urgent, but these funds take time to distribute. Meanwhile, evictions are surging. The solution is simple. We must give renters more time to pay. I want to be clear about what is at stake here. If a landlord has to wait 2 more weeks to receive rent, they would not go out of business. If a renter is not given 2 more weeks to pay rent, they will lose their home. Multiply this by the thousands of impacted families that are already at risk of seeing their entire neighborhoods and businesses and culture corridors collapse. Immigrants and non-immigrant BIPOC people and businesses are the lifeblood of our city, bringing culture and economic vitality that makes Minneapolis and Minnesota a special place. The clock is ticking. Since the last time this council considered this ordinance, more families have been thrusted into housing court to plead against being evicted. Expanding our pre-eviction notice from 30 days to at least 45 days means renters gain a crucial 15 more days. That's 15 more days means a paycheck that families could use. It means 15 more days of critical outreach time. It means 15 more days to connect with mutual aid and other assistances. Do not believe the misleading arguments from landlords and nonprofit housing organizations that say giving renters more time to pay interferes with the relationships that tenants and landlords have. That is simply not true. Landlords remain free to negotiate payment plans and other agreements with tenants at any time. We've heard that giving renters more time to make rent will send them deeper into debt. This is false. Please expand our pre-eviction notice. Thank you.
I'll just remind folks, you have 2 minutes to address the body. I'm gonna cut off every person at that 2-minute mark when the buzzer goes off. We do want to hear from you, and if you have written testimony that you are not able to get through in the 2 minutes allotted to you, I would highly welcome you and encourage you to submit your written comments to the clerk so that they can be included in the public record on this item. You can do that by visiting minneapolismn.gov/public comment, or you can come and see our wonderful clerks at the end of the dais, and they will assist you in making sure that we receive your testimony. With that, I'm gonna go through the 5 speakers after speaker number 5, Mr. Murphy, I'm so sorry. After Huang, we will welcome speaker number 6, Ian Coldwater, followed by speaker number 7, Arroyo B. Garcia, followed by speaker number 8, Alibea Rodriguez, followed by speaker number 9, Brahim, last name starts with an M, from Ward 10. And then followed by speaker number 10, Valerie M., also from Ward 10. With that, we will welcome speaker number 5, Huang Murphy.
I didn't see the list. I wanted to put on.
If you are seeking, I'm so sorry. If you are seeking to sign up to speak at this public hearing, please go ahead and sign up in the hallway at the entryway, and we'll get to you in the order that. Great, excellent. Huang, we're ready to hear your testimony.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. My name is Huang Murphy, and I am the CEO of People Serving People. We are proud to be located in wards 3 and 4, but we also serve the entire city and the entire county. Every single night, we have 115 families who are homeless staying in our shelter, and then 10 families who live in our supportive housing. And what I'm here to talk to you about today is the urgency of this moment. I appreciate the care and thought that all of you have put into this, that this is not an easy vote. It is a change to a long-held policy. But there has been a significant change in our environment. There has been federal attacks that have harmed our communities across our diaspora, and that demands that we do things differently. What I asked you on March 11th, when we sent our original letter with our comments, was that families needed more time and more money. I am so grateful that you have all marshaled that extra money, $7.6 million, 3.8 from you, and then the matching amount from the Wilson Foundation is deeply meaningful, and paired now with an additional 15 days will support families who are facing eviction and who are facing homelessness. The brutal reality is that we are at capacity. We are the last stop for families from being on the street. And the reality is that there are not homeless families on the street because they don't get to stay families if they are. And that is the burden that I'm asking you to hold today. And the responsibility that you must carry is that if now that there is more money, there must be additional time to make sure that landlords, like myself, also get paid, and then so that families then also get enough time so that they can actually get those dollars to them, so that they do not need to face that eviction. But more importantly, many families will be exiting their homes before the eviction filing is carried out. This allows more time so that families do not feel rushed and then do not make rash decisions that are a period of urgency and emergency. And so I thank you all for the time that you're taking to do this, and I would love to address any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we will welcome speaker number 6, Ian.
Hello. My name is Ian Coldwater. I am a Ward 8 homeowner and a former teenage parent who was a Section 8 voucher recipient. I now work on the Adopt-A-Rent team at Stanwood, Minnesota. We who have been doing mutual aid in this city have been doing amazing work, but it's been slowing down a lot. We have been having trouble finding donors. There's just less to go around, and it takes longer to raise it. People do need more time. And we take care of us, but we can't do it on our own. We need you all to take care of the people in this city too. You represent your constituents. And every one of these constituents are not statistics, they are people. Every one of these stories, every one of these eviction filings represents a person, and I would really like to encourage you all to look at these people not as stories or statistics, but as people. We all need to have empathy here. We all need to have a conscience here, and landlords who have been expressing concerns about living paycheck to paycheck and being broke, you would think that would give them some empathy here, because actually the people who are really having trouble at the end of the day living paycheck to paycheck are not the landlords. They get a lot more leeway. It's the renters. I really just want to say, please look at your constituents. Listen to what people are trying to tell you. People really do need more time. Mutual aid organizers need more time. Renters need more time. And this is a win for landlords too, because at the end of the day, we're asking the question of whether or not the landlords are getting paid. And ideally, the landlords do get paid. The people get to pay the rent, and everybody gets to stay in their homes. This can be a win-win. Please pass this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll welcome speaker number 7, Arroyo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arroyo. I'm here in support of Pause Evictions to Save Lives. I'd like to remind people that ICE is still here. As I drop off people as part of my job as medical transport, I can't help but think of the people with mobility issues in the immigrant community who face potential eviction. Giving people time can help people fundraise for themselves and or work on finding alternative housing. I'm in support of Madame Chowdhury and Madame Chung Tai. An eviction on your record makes it difficult for people to get back into housing. People continue to work while homeless. As someone who has been homeless before, I can speak to the difficulty of trying to find housing once more. As someone who is the child of immigrants, I can tell you that the difficulties of navigating a city that speaks not the language that you do is an additional challenge. There are many people in this city who would appreciate 15 more days. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, I will welcome speaker number 8, Ali Bea. Perfect. The time has been updated. And yeah, well, you can turn that mic on, and I think clerks will actually maybe do that. There you go. Perfect.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Alibella Rodríguez. Soy líder de Inquilinos Unidos por Justicia. Durante 24 años he estado viviendo en mi barrio y en comunidad con mis vecinos.
Good afternoon. My name is Alibella Rodriguez. I'm a leader for Renters United for Justice. And during 24 years, I've been living in my neighborhood and community with my neighbors.
Estuve liderando la entrega de comida y apoyando compartir recursos de seguridad a mi comunidad.
I was helping as a leader in my community to provide food and resources for safety to my community.
Ahora estoy aquí porque muchas de las familias hemos estado liderando con pocas horas de trabajo o perdiendo nuestro trabajo y seguimos con el miedo de ser arrestados debido a la ocupación.
And I'm here today because a lot of the families, we're still dealing with few hours of employment and some loss of employment as well. And we continue to be very afraid of the probably getting arrested because of the occupation.
Como inquilinos sabemos que debemos de pagar la renta, pero no nos estamos viendo obligados a salir y ser arrestados y violentados, al igual que estas comunidades. A los dueños no les importa nuestra seguridad, ellos quieren la renta.
As a renter, we know that we must pay the rent, but we're still seeing we're obliged to not coming out of our houses and be arrested and violented as some other communities are. As owners, they don't care about our safety. They don't care about, they only want the rent.
El alcalde Jacob Friend dijo públicamente que apoya a la comunidad inmigrante y nosotros creímos en su palabra. Y lo mínimo que esperábamos es que él aprobara la extensión del previo aviso a desalojo de 60 días.
Major Jacob Frey said in public that he would support us, our immigrant communities, and we thought that he would come through with his words, and we were hoping that he would prove the 60 days. Obviously, he didn't.
El alcalde vetó esta solución. Es muy triste ver que la gente de la comunidad nos está apoyando y está dando más que el alcalde, que tiene poder para aprobar ayuda para nuestros contribuyentes.
It is really the major veto this solution, and it's really sad that our community is not getting the support, and and that we need more support from our mayor to support our communities.
Sabemos que este Consejo Municipal ha agregado un poco más de $3 millones más para ayuda con la renta y que quizás el Estado también va a poder poner más dinero para el alivio de la renta.
We know that there is support coming up on over $3 million to help with the rent, and that the state is going to even put more money into this to support the rent.
Esto es bueno, necesitamos ese apoyo, pero también sabemos que las solicitudes toman tiempo y hay muchas familias de diferentes comunidades tratando de acceder a los mismos recursos mientras luchamos por pagar la renta.
We know this is really good, and we need that support, but we also know that it does take time to get to this process, and a lot of families of different communities are trying to get to these resources, but they do need the time for it to pay for the rent.
Thank you. Folks, before we continue, I'm going to just do some level setting and a couple of reminders here. This is my perennial reminder that if you are someone who is here and would like to offer testimony that you want to make sure is included as a part of the deliberations on this item or the public record on this item and the public record on this item, please sign up to offer your testimony, and we'll get to you in the order in which you've signed up. We're now up to 18 registered speakers. Second, I want to remind everyone of the rules of our council. In particular, I want to talk about the rules of decorum, which apply both to council members sitting up here and apply to our public hearings. So people who are attending meetings and are attending our public hearings must avoid conduct. And now I'm going to directly read from our council rules, just so everyone is very, very clear. And this is not my interpretation. These are the exact words that are adopted in our laws. Persons who attend meetings must avoid conduct that disrupts, interferes with, or disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting or the ability of other attendees to observe and participate as appropriate. To that end, those who attend meetings are subject to the following. 1, members of the public may only speak during meetings when allowed under council rules and only after being recognized by the presiding officer. The presiding officer may establish time limits for the acceptance of public testimony or comments. In this case, this is an appropriate time that council rules allow for testimony. As I've outlined, the time that is set for receiving testimony is 2 minutes, and we increase that up to 4 minutes for those who require interpretation, so that we are equitably making sure that everyone is receiving the same amount of time to offer testimony. The presiding officer for this hearing is me, so that's when I'm calling you up, and all testimony is directed to me. Public comments or testimony must be, so the second item here is public testimony or comments must be addressed to the presiding officer and not to council members, staff, or others in attendance. All elected officials shall be referred to by their proper title and surname. I know that's every person here today has done that. Public comments should avoid personal accusations, profanity, or other improper conduct for a public meeting. Intimidating behaviors, threats of hostility, or actual violence are disallowed. Audible demonstrations of approval or disapproval should be avoided, including conduct that may be intimidating or threatening to others. And finally, holding, displaying, or placing banners, signs, objects, or other materials in any way that endangers others, prevents the free flow of individuals within the chambers, or obstructs or prevents the viewing of the meeting by others is not allowed. You're certainly welcome to hold signs, but make sure that it is not obstructing anyone being able to move in and out of the pews that are in this room. If I am hearing over the course of this public hearing today any things that are interfering with this, it is then later outlined in the same section that I will issue an oral warning. If any of this continues or escalates by a single individual, I can ask for folks to be removed. That's certainly not where we want to go here. I know we actually want to all listen to each other and different perspectives that are going to be offered here today. So just wanted to level set and offer that reminder. And with that, we'll continue with our public hearing, and I'll welcome speaker number 9, Brahim.
Good morning, afternoon. Good afternoon, council members, and my name is Ibrahim. I'm renter neighbor in the Ward 10, and I'm member of the IBG Tenants Union, and someone who knows exactly what I feel is like when the sheriff knocks on your door and to tell you your life is being moved into the sidewalk. I'm here because I have lived through the efficient process. It is not just a legal filing or a branch of paperwork. It is a trauma that can break a person or family. It's a painful, it's a confusing, and it is designing to move faster. Then a person can keep up with when you are that position. Whether it's because your job was because you had an unexpected medical emergency, or a loved one was addicted by ice, your brain is survival mode. You aren't thinking about paperwork. You are thinking about where you and your kids will sleep tomorrow night. The city says there is a rental assistance now. That thanks God of that, Alhamdulillah. But from my experience, I can tell you money alone doesn't fix this if you don't have time. Right now, the efficient process is a race between a tenant and landlord. A race that the tenant set up to lose Minneapolis, so a major spike of eviction violence this March that represented hundreds of families feeling the same terror, and left many families are also self-evicting, leaving their homes before.
Thank you. Next, I will welcome speaker number 10, Valerie.
Okay. Good afternoon, my counselors. It's so glad to meet you all. My name is Miss Val. Most people call me Miss Val, but it's Valerie Mack. I am a part of the Ward 10. I am also a proud member of the IPG. And I stand here today to say not 45 days, we really need 60 days. I don't know why they're trying to low standard this, because there's so much going on in these buildings that IPG owns. They are the worst evictors that I know as a landlord. Just this week, and it's not even on my notes, just this week, 5-6 people in my building has been charged with evictions that had all paid their rent. So yes, we need to fight back. They're doing more evictions than they're doing fixing up their buildings. And that part I'm not happy with. So my thing is, please, please, let us get this extra time. And I'm a witness because they have sent me to court twice, back to back. 1 year, the next year. Matter of fact, this year. And I win my case because I pay my rent. So why am I being sent to court? And you have to get money up. It's so hard that I had people come in, finally reached up and helped me, and that's how I got a chance to pay it the first time. The second time, it went away because the books were all wrong. The ledgers are all wrong. So, but you want to evict us. You want to give us 30 days. You want to give us a fake notice on the door saying people that's not even working with the system. So yes, we really do need this increase to help people not get on the streets with their children. Most of the people in my building are senior citizens. You give me 15 days, 30 days. How in the world am I supposed to do this? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Val. All right. The next 5 speakers we will welcome are speaker number 11, Mina B., followed by speaker number 12, Felisa Rojas, followed by speaker number 13, Angela B., followed by speaker number 14, Jessica S., and finally speaker number 15, Alana Hawley. That'll welcome speaker number 11, Mina.
Hi there. My name is Mina Baravan, and I am a renter in Ward 10 and a proud member of the Twin Cities Tenant Union. I know that landlords have said extending the pre-eviction notice will be bad for business, or that they are worried about collecting a rent check 2 weeks later, or having 2 more weeks before that threat. However, we believe strongly that housing is a human right. It is not a matter of finances. It is something we all need to survive. When landlords say business, what they actually mean, like many others have said, is human beings' lives. Many of my friends, many of my neighbors, many fellow tenant union members have faced eviction or are now terrified of facing eviction. It seems that we all are in agreement that no one should be terrified to go to work when they are just trying to provide for their families, and we all know that this is what happened during Operation Metro Surge. While we may think the most acute effects of this are over, we are just seeing many, many more come in. The 60% higher evictions, That number is not something to just look at and dismiss. That is, every single one of those are people who might lose their home. And these 15 extra days would allow people, as others have said, the time to actually access the help that they need before getting an eviction on their record, before having to choose between putting food on their table or taking their children to school or having a roof over their heads. This 15 days makes a difference. Like y'all have also mentioned, there is rental assistance moving. There are more funds available. It takes time to access those funds. And not only that, the people who are most acutely affected by all of this, including Operation Metro Surge, have many more barriers to be able to access things like this. Filling out forms, all of these types of things, interpretation. This takes time. I have helped people do this, and it takes time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll welcome speaker number 12, Felisa. And clerks, if we can adjust the timer.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Felisa Rojas. Yo soy líder de Inquilinos Unidos por Justicia y también soy líder de Mujeres.
Hola, hi, good afternoon. My name is Felisa Rojas. I'm a leader for Renters United for Justice, and I'm also part of a women's group.
También soy mamá de una niña de 10 meses.
Also, I'm a mom of a daughter of a 10-month-old.
Durante esta ocupación he tenido miedo, ya que mi esposo ha dejado de trabajar por días, incluso por semanas y meses.
During this occupation, I've been really afraid because my husband has lost a lot of time of work.
Quiero mencionar que tengo miedo que mi esposo sea secuestrado por ICE.
I am really afraid that my husband will be kidnapped by ICE.
Estoy aquí para decirle a nuestros gobernantes que por favor extiendan el plazo que son de 45 días.
I'm here to ask you all, the government body, to extend the time of 45 days.
La razón es que a principios del 2026 nos hemos visto afectados.
The reason is that from the very beginning of this year, 2026, we've been really affected.
La comunidad rentera estamos asustados del desalojo.
All our community members were really afraid of getting evicted.
Sabemos que en la ciudad hay millones de dólares en disposición para la renta.
We know that there is a lot of money, millions of dollars, for rent assistance.
Pero lo que necesitamos es tiempo para que estos procesos se lleven a cabo.
And what we need time so this process can take place.
Yo les invito a que por favor nos ayuden a que esto sea posible.
I invite you all to please help us so we can make this possible.
Y más que nada, invitamos a todos los líderes a que se unan a esta causa.
And more than anything else, I'm also inviting every leader to come and be part of this movement.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I'll welcome speaker number 13, Angela.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angela Bonfilio. I am a Ward 4 resident and here with the Housing Justice League. We were here 49 days ago to talk about Pause Eviction Save Lives, and we're back here again. And since the beginning of March, 764 households have had evictions filed in the city of Minneapolis. That's 764 families since you had the chance to take action on this previously in the wake of Operation Metro Surge. Approximately 60 people came last time to support this policy, and we're back here again today. We also know last month, just through our coalition, that over 500 people reached out to you in support of this policy, and another 80 people reached out in support for today. So the economic impact is beyond widespread and unmeasurable, and we need solutions coming from this body. As also a business owner myself, I know it'll take time for everyone to recover from this, even if we weren't directly impacted in the same way as some of our cultural corridors. We're seeing that the council has forgiven business owners with fees, and renters deserve the same consideration to have more time. And last time you heard business owners here that can't pay their rent at home, and they can't pay their rent at their business either. And so this is all stacking up. All this is asking you to do is create more time for rental assistance to get out in the community, and the community needs more time. So constituents have really lost faith in the ability of this body and our government in general to respond to the moment and the long-lasting effects of this occupation. And so we want to see you all continue to stand up on top of the money that has been put out there. We need more support and more action to take place. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll welcome speaker number 14, Jessica.
Hello, thank you, Vice Chair Chugtai and council members for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jessica Szyminski. I am a Minneapolis resident, a policy attorney at the Housing Justice Center, and a member of the Housing Justice League. I strongly urge you to pass this extension to the pre-eviction notice period. Like Angela was saying, I was also here last time saying the same thing, and I'm here saying it again because it's just as important as it was last time. Families need time to access rental assistance and stabilize their households. 30 days just isn't enough. Expanding to 45 days would provide critical breathing room for tenants to secure assistance, pay overdue rent, and avoid the devastating consequences of eviction. Hennepin County has identified that they need 2 extra weeks to process applications for aid. This extension will prevent evictions and ensure that vulnerable communities do not become unhoused. Now I want to combat some of the opposition narratives we've heard. First, extending the pre-eviction notice period does not delay help for tenants. Landlords don't need to wait until they've issued an eviction notice to connect tenants to assistance. Landlords can and should engage with tenants as early as possible. There is nothing stopping them from communicating or connecting tenants with mutual aid or other resources well before the threat of an eviction filing. And for the sources of rental assistance that require that an eviction be filed first, the council can pressure those providers to change that policy. Second, if a tenant ultimately faces eviction under this extended notice period, the accruing rental balance will not change how hard it is for them to find new housing. It is just as hard to find future housing after being evicted for 2 months' rent as it is after being evicted for 3 months' rent. The main difference is that the extra 2 weeks greatly increases the tenant's chance to redeem with rental assistance and avoid the eviction in the first place. This council unanimously agreed that an eviction moratorium was necessary to reduce harm and protect our neighbors. You can stand by that by passing this pre-eviction notice extension to prevent homelessness, and thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll welcome speaker number 15, Alana.
Hello, my name is Elena. I volunteer with Neighbors for More Neighbors. The actions of the federal government against Minneapolis have long-lasting consequences, and the creation of hundreds, maybe thousands of newly homeless residents over the coming months is one of the most consequential. Losing a home is one of the most terrifying prospects any person can face. The disruption of life and the accumulation of traumas along the road back to housing has a heavy cost for the individual and for society. No one looks at a homeless encampment in their city and thinks, wow, we're doing great and I love my representative. The fear here is that this policy is an additional stress on affordable housing providers. I can see how there is a sense of being between a rock and a hard place. Several council members have been extremely proactive in finding solutions for keeping Minneapolis citizens safely housed during a terrifying moment in history. I'm going to ask the remaining council members to bring that energy forward as well. This policy gives renters 2 extra weeks in alignment with the 45 days it takes to access rental assistance. This is a common sense adjustment that will keep people housed. I urge you to approve of this rational change. Then I urge you to be proactive in supporting affordable housing providers. How can you get them additional financial support? How can you get more resources to them to help them keep people housed? I think everyone in this room wants the same thing, a housed and thriving Minneapolis. Please take actions to make that a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll welcome the next three speakers that we have signed up. The final three speakers that we have signed up are speaker number 16, Erica Castro Vaz, followed by speaker number 17, Soila P, followed by speaker number 18, Contessa. It's okay. And if we can, the timer's already adjusted. Welcome, Erica.
Hola, me llamo Erika y llevo 3 años trabajando aquí en Minneapolis como rufera y vivo en el Distrito 9.
Hello, my name is Erica, and I've been working here in Minneapolis as a roofer for 3 years. I live in Ward 9.
Mi esposo también es trabajador de la construcción, se dedica a la renovación de viviendas. En diciembre nos resultó imposible encontrar trabajo. Los contratistas estaban paralizando los proyectos y ordenando a los trabajadores que se quedaran en casa debido a la actividad de ICE y practicando todas las personas que conozco personalmente en este sector. Llevan sin trabajar al menos de 2 meses a 3 o 4.
My husband is also a construction worker. He renovates houses. In December, it was impossible for us to find work. Contractors were halting projects and telling workers to stay home because of ICE. Virtually everyone I know personally in this industry has been out of work for at least 2 months, if not 3 or 4.
Las consecuencias económicas para nuestra familia han sido devastadoras. A finales de diciembre, mi esposo se decidió a vender su camioneta de trabajo para que pudiéramos pagar nuestras cuentas y el alquiler, así evitar pasar hambre y que nos desalojaran. También recurrimos al fondo de alquiler de CETUL para pagar el alquiler de marzo, ya que no se acabó el dinero obteniendo por la venta de la camioneta. Ahora no sabemos cómo llegar al fin de este mes con nuestra familia de 4.
The economic consequences for our family have been devastating. At the end of December, my husband decided to sell his work truck so we could pay our bills and rent and avoid hunger and eviction. We also relied on the CETUL rent fund for March rent since the money from the truck ran out. Now we are unsure how to make ends meet for our family of 4.
Esta crisis en la que miles de trabajadores atraviesan dificultades económicas y se enfrentan a un desalojo es consecuencia directa de las prácticas abusivas del gobierno federal. Ahora necesitamos el apoyo de ustedes, nuestro Consejo Municipal, para aprobar esta sencillez medida que nos da más tiempo para ceder y la ayuda para alquiler mientras nos recuperamos.
This crisis, in which thousands of workers are struggling financially and facing eviction, is a direct result of the federal government's violent practices. Now we need the support of you, our City Council, to pass this simple measure that will allow us more time to access rental relief as we get back on our feet.
Extender temporalmente el plazo de la notificación de desalojo podría marcar la diferencia entre conservar nuestra casa o encontrar en la calle.
Extending the eviction notice timeline temporarily could be the difference between keeping our house or finding ourselves on the street.
La crisis de desalojo de la que hemos estado advirtiendo durante meses ya no es una amenaza imitante. Ya está aquí. Por favor, apoyen los trabajadores. Hoy voten, por favor, de extender el plazo de la notificación de desalojo. Gracias.
The eviction crisis we've been warning of for months is no longer looming. It is here. Please stand with workers today and vote to extend the eviction notice timeline. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll welcome speaker number 17, Soila.
Hola, me llamo Soila. Trabajo de cocinera en un bar de barrio en el noreste de Minneapolis, no muy lejos de aquí. También vivo en Minneapolis, en el Distrito 3.
Hi, my name is Soila. I'm a cook in a neighborhood bar in Northeast, not far from here. I also live in Minneapolis in Ward 3.
Durante la ocupación federal dejé de trabajar por 2 meses para mantenerme a salvo. El gobierno afirma que envió a sus agentes enmascarados para detener a delincuentes, para sacar a personas peligrosas de nuestra comunidad, pero sabemos que eso no era cierto. Sabemos que vinieron a llevarse a todo el mundo, incluso a personas que trabajan aquí legalmente. La única forma de estar a salvo era quedándome en casa o arriesgándome a que me detuvieran durante meses en condiciones terribles.
During the federal occupation, I stopped working for 2 months to stay safe. The government claims they sent their masked agents to get criminals, to get dangerous people out of our community, but we know this wasn't true. We know that they came to get everyone, even people who were here working legally. The only way to stay safe was to stay home or risk being held for months in terrible conditions.
Así que temía por mi vida durante la ocupación federal y además estaba constantemente preocupada por cómo iba a llegar a fin de mes. Por suerte, pude contactar con el apoyo de Fondo de Alquiler de CETUL durante 2 meses, en febrero y marzo. Pero ahora que la oleada ha pasado y el ICE casi se ha ido, todas estas facturas acumuladas siguen sumándose: el alquiler de los servicios públicos, la comida, las cuotas de auto, gastos médicos. La deuda creciente es un estrés enorme.
So I was afraid for my life during the federal occupation, and I also was constantly worried about how I was going to make ends meet. Luckily, I was able to be supported by the Setul Rent Fund for 2 months in February and March. But now that the surge is over and ICE is mostly gone, all these piled up bills keep adding up. The rent, utilities, food, car payments, medical expenses, mounting debt is immensely stressful.
Somos muchísimos, un sinfín de personas, los que nos beneficiaremos de disponer de más tiempo para pagar el alquiler. Lo que necesitamos es más tiempo, tiempo para acceder a las ayudas, al alquiler y para recuperar cierta normalidad en nuestras vidas, sin el temor constante al desalojo. Esta es la medida básica que nuestra ciudad puede adoptar para garantizar que nos recuperemos del trauma colectivo que supuso la operación Metro Sur. Les insto a todos que voten a favor de la ampliación del plazo de notificación de desalojo. Gracias.
There are so many of us, countless of us, who will benefit from more time to pay our rent. More time is what we need, time to access rental relief and to return to some normalcy in our lives without the looming fear of eviction. This is the baseline action that our city can take to ensure we recover from the collective trauma of Operation Metro Surge. I urge you all to vote yes on the extension of the eviction notification timeline. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final registered speaker today is Contessa.
Hello, City Council. I would say so about this issue. I don't think 45 days would be appropriate for them.
Can I ask you to speak into the speaker? Thank you. Into the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that this 45 days ain't appropriate for these people that are impacted by the pain and suffering of ICE. I think like 90 days would probably be appropriate because due to the fact that the funds are distributed to these places and it takes time and then they're already having processes on delay. So I don't think that's enough time for these people to get their stuff in order. So I think we should address that a little more. And I see that we got all the funds in to help the people in these programs. I feel like sometimes when I look into it, I see these entities misusing money. And like I heard a woman speak about her building, about people getting evicted due to the process. But if say the landlord got some money from the state and you approved it and they got millions of dollars, why are they kicking people out when they got the funds to help the people? So I see it's being a lot of misuse in these entities that are getting money from the city council, from the budget that we have to help the people. So I feel like there's a lot of entities that come and get their wishes granted, but they're not helping the community in a proper manner. They're embezzling money. That's how I see like fraudulent. And then these people are paying and suffering from their consequences of greed. So I feel like we really need to look into who we're giving money to that is not helping the people. Because as one, we need to be together as we, so that we can help each other flourish, no matter what stance you are on, poverty, up, whatever. Because we're all equal at the end of the day. And we need to keep helping each other and support one another in this hard time. And then police brutality. I don't like the police. I think we need to change the law about that, and they need to be on strict consequences because they're really dirty. I mean, it's so dirty, it makes my cheeks hot. So, yeah, I think that 90 days would be appropriate for these people, and I do believe that this should be passed because of the pain and suffering, and with process, with the funds coming, they need a little more time. So I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the list of registered speakers that we have today. Is there anyone in these chambers or in the overflow room that is wishing to offer testimony today but hasn't had the opportunity to sign up yet? I'm gonna wait just a few seconds here in case there's someone in the hallway or in the overflow room that wants to make their way in. And then I'll explain what we're gonna do from here. So shortly, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Then we're gonna begin the discussion from colleagues, from council members on this item. At that point, I will be turning the chair back to Chair Chowdhury. Once we conclude discussion on this item, we have a motion to approve this ordinance and send it forward to Thursday's council meeting. We'll consider that, and from there we will then conclude the discussion and actions on this item. So, one more time, I will ask if there's anyone who is wishing to offer testimony but hasn't had the opportunity to do so today. And then as a reminder, if you would like to submit written testimony, you can do so at minneapolismn.gov/public comment to be included in the official public record on this item. I'm not seeing anyone making their way up to the podium, so I'm going to conclude this public hearing at this time. And with that, I'm sorry, we don't do question answer from up here. Do my colleagues have any other discussion or questions on this item? One more time, colleagues, any? Okay, there we go. We're having some trouble with speaker management. So I'm gonna try, why don't we use our flags? And for folks on the ends, if you can raise those and make sure either the vice chair or either the chair or I see you. Council, okay, we're back to working? Never mind. All right. Council Vice President Osman.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for all the folks that came here to speak today. Thank you for the organizations that really advocates for tenant protection and tenant rights. I appreciate you coming. Your voice matters. Really, really important. I am someone who represents a large renters. 90 plus residents in Ward 6 are renters, and that's my job, is to protect them, to provide policies that help the residents. I remember back in 2021 when we were talking about 14 days pre-eviction notice, and we extended to 30. And right now it's 45. I'm actually disappointed. This is not a permanent. This should be a permanent for all folks to do that. I do personally want to thank Councilmember Chowdhury for her leadership and really putting this together and making this a reality. And I want to make sure also the folks that came to speak, and I appreciate the question that was raised, which was, have you been to the court hearing? That is very important. I have been, I've been, and it is very challenging for folks to go through that. And what we know after the eviction happens is it can lead to homelessness. It can lead to so many disasters. So I encourage my colleagues to listen to the residents and really support. And I'll just say this, business community, we care about you as well. You're doing business with the city. We want to make sure you get paid, but we already know that eviction has cost a lot of money, and those folks collect the money. The landlords always collect the money, either now or later on after eviction. So this is not against anti-business folks. We want business, City of Minneapolis to thrive, but we have also a resident to protect. And let me just say this, as someone who represents immigrants, larger immigrants in the community, there's a lot of barriers too, with people knowing their tenants' rights, people even knowing they have 30 days. Some in my experience working with my residents are, folks are told to leave tomorrow and they leave. They start backing up. They don't know that due process. So it's our job to educate, to build policies that protect our residents. So this is no brainer. I'm hoping that this will pass with no issue. And let's just say this is temporary, but hopefully we can come back and figure out a way to, how do we make people give more time? It wasn't popular when we were doing the 14 days. Of course, it wasn't popular when we were doing the 30 days, but we're getting better, and we are really heading the right direction. So again, thank you all that came to speak for the residents of Minneapolis.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Stevenson, followed by Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, Chair. I won't belabor the point. We had a lengthy discussion about this a few weeks, months ago. All of that still stands. The need is still massive. The need is unchanged, basically. As we saw in Homeline's report from April 7th, a striking 60% increase in eviction filings in March. The need is still there. We need to act. We need to act right now. And I won't belabor the point, but I would like to be added as a co-author, if that is okay.
Yes, of course.
Clerks, if we can note that, please.
And thank you.
Thank you. Next, I will recognize Councilmember Whiting, followed by Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to note here, while I'm supportive of this ordinance today, as I was supportive of this ordinance as it is listed, as written out in the 45 days 2 months ago, I think I again want to urge this body to do what we are here to do. I think we have an opportunity and will for the next 4 years to work together to come right with a consensus version of policy that works the first time. And as this is possible, there's a possibility of this coming back to us again. I'd like our colleagues, all of us, to again work together the first time to pass something that is helpful for our residents. I'm happy that my council colleague Stevenson brought up the Homeline report. So I also think we have to be honest with our numbers as well. And so I will read the exact numbers from that April 7th Homeline report. What we saw is in the city of Minneapolis, eviction filings for Q1, a 12% decrease in January, a 16.7% decrease in February, and a 60% increase in March. What we are seeing with that report from Homeline is a large attributing factor to that was because this body passed a 30-day eviction notice in March of 2025. And so while I think it is helpful and shows the effectiveness of these policies, to say that we have only received a 60% increase year over year is based on what we are seeing, I think is unfair. And so when we are talking about data, let's use data and not pick and choose and cherry pick the ones that are there. And so, right, if we are looking at Marches of this year's 2026 eviction filings, they were lower. We have 452 of 2026. The March eviction filings for 2025 were 496. February's were 521. 281 obviously attributed to the eviction filings. And so I think we do have to be careful with the data we use because it can water down our arguments. And so I think this body should use those stats correctly in the way that to help bolster or hurt those arguments as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And finally, I'll recognize Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you. I want to thank Chair Chaudhary and Vice Chair Chugtai for bringing this ordinance back to a vote. I want to let people know that our neighbors are still struggling to pay their rent, and that's what I want to focus my comments on today, because our neighbors are still hiding in the shadows. Our neighbors are still struggling to pay their rent. Rent assistance is still not enough to prevent the displacement of our community members who have called Minneapolis their home, whether it's for 1 year, 2 years, or for most of their life. And what we are seeing in our community, specifically in our immigrant community, is that folks are struggling to get by. They need more time to pay rent. This is obviously not the policy that I wish would have passed and not have been vetoed, but it is back before us because people still need more time to pay rent. An additional few more days to pay people's rent can help prevent the displacement of many of our neighbors in the city of Minneapolis. This is their home. This is where they want to stay, and this is where they want to be. And for the past few months, they've been demonized by the federal government. They've been attacked by the federal government, quite frankly, and they've been put back into the shadows. It is so hard to have to hide in the shadows and then have to figure out how you're going to survive. And what this policy does, and I want to center what it does, it's going to give neighbors a little bit more time to pay rent. And hopefully this means that many of our neighbors are then going to be able to stay in the place they call home, which is our beautiful city known as Minneapolis. We know that many of our neighbors have already self-deported because they couldn't afford their rent. We know many of our neighbors have had to go to work because they couldn't pay their rent, and they were then kidnapped on their way to work. And those are the stories that I want to center on why this policy is really important and why we have been pushing for it for the past few weeks. Many of our neighbors are going to be evicted without more time to pay their rent. That is just not me saying it. That is a complete fact. So I just wanted to at least center why this policy matters, why it is really important, and the story of many of our neighbors that live in every single ward, because immigrants live in every ward, not just in my ward. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll recognize Councilmember Wansley, followed by Chair Chowdhury.
Gonna give it a moment to let that sit. So I also just want to extend gratitude to my colleagues for bringing this back forward. The last time that we had a public hearing regarding this ordinance, several council members and opponents of Pause Eviction Save Lives kept referring to hypothetical outcomes of what would happen if this ordinance passed. We also heard from several housing providers who opposed the original policy, stating that giving renters time to get rental assistance kicks the can down the road. And I hope now that my colleagues can see that we are now down the road. And those who were opposed to this policy have no solutions on how to mitigate against eviction crisis. That is real, and has led to massive increases of unsheltered homelessness. And we as a city, as demonstrated day by day and for many years, we are simply not prepared to deal with evictions rising at the rate that they currently are. And our constituents have been telling us that for years, that we have been failing to effectively respond to the housing instability that exists with our current housing market, but that became even more intensified when Operation Metro Surge happened. That truly broke already a fragile foundation upon which our housing market stands upon. And at this point, we would be actively supporting mass displacement if we did not utilize this opportunity to temporarily mitigate, and I want to emphasize again, temporarily mitigate eviction crisis and help our residents who could not have anticipated that their lives would be completely upended and turned around and put in a place where they could be facing living life on the streets as a result of us experiencing a federal occupation. And someone mentioned this amongst the public testimony, but I am also grateful that our leadership on the first policy to move to 60 days inspired leaders in St. Paul that not only just stopped at rental assistance, which we were told was the sole solution in addressing eviction or would be the most credible solution towards preventing eviction. They, over in the city of St. Paul, recognize that it is a both and approach that is needed. They both pass additional rental assistance, inspiring us to even increase our appropriations in our most recent passage of rental assistance. And they also passed a 60-day pre-notice filing extension and did not experience a veto. And I am so grateful that residents have the benefits of that protection there. And it's unfortunate that we could not do the same here, but this policy gives us the opportunity to at least provide a protection in place ahead of May 1st, ahead of June 1st, ahead of July 1st, because the longer we go without eviction protection like this in place, then we all should be ready to see the sheriff's budget continue to increase to carry out evictions. We should see, which in our own MPD's account, their overtime spending increase to also support with responding to homelessness in our city. These things can be prevented right now by taking measures like this to support the 45-day extension. And again, I can't emphasize evictions have a long-term, multi-year, if not generational impact on people's housing stability. And we have the ability as city leaders to say, not on our watch. We're not going to walk away from having been occupied by the Trump administration who hates everybody and say that we're going to let hate prevail economically and lead to worse outcomes of people having to live on the streets simply because they had nowhere to go but their homes during that occupation. And we're going to let them lose that one thing, that one shield of protection. I know we're better than that. We're better than this. And I just simply encourage my colleagues to support this measure so that we can, at least in the foreseeable months, save some lives and keep people housed.
Thank you. Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you, Vice Chair Chowdhury. We get a pass. So I want to thank everyone that came and testified and everyone that has been writing the City Council for now, what I heard, 49 days since the last public hearing. We've gotten hundreds and hundreds of comments from community members sent to our inboxes. And I think that's important to note. Like, it's all across the city. Community members are asking for this. And we also, the ground shifted, right? We're in a different moment in time. The city across the river passed a 60-day pre-eviction notice, and that's what stands over there. Us over here, we have service providers who are now in support of the 45-day pre-eviction notice, and we also have several community members that have taken time off of their working day to come back here and do this again. We're also awaiting this legislative session to conclude to see if we're going to get more rental assistance. And I just want to address something really quick. I think it's really important. Homeline is one of the very few organizations that we have in the city of Minneapolis that is a tenant advocacy organization that does the really hard nitty-gritty work of advocating for a class of people that is underrepresented in systems across government, across private institutions. We rely on them heavily. Ever since I was a policy aide here, they've been a resource for us to figure out what do tenants need, and also they go out there and do the work of making sure that people stay housed. They're the ones that do go to eviction court. And I've heard this point of their numbers are unfair, and I took a lot of time to think about what that point, and I just have to say I vehemently disagree. The numbers that we have show in March of 2025 that there was 282 evictions, went down because of the 30-day pre-eviction notice. I'm proud to have authored that with several of my colleagues up here. But then we see a jump this year to 452. That's worth noting. That's 170 people. And that's not even accounting for April, as rental assistance has dried up for mutual aid and has slowed down. And I also want to say that, like, if we had a 30-day pre-eviction notice in March of 2025 and it went down to 282, we saw a significant decrease. And with that same policy in place, we see this huge jump. I think that should tell us that the 30-day pre-eviction notice isn't working. It's just not working. It's not helping. if we're seeing that much of an increase. So no, I don't think it's unfair. And I'll also ask, unfair to who? Really unfair to who? So I vehemently disagree with that. I think we should definitely see that the 170 people who had an eviction filing, that matters, even with a 30-day pre-eviction notice. That shows us that we need more time. And I thank the organization for being the only organization that is collecting data and sending it to us as council members so we can make policy decisions.
Thank you. Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, Chair. Just kind of want to do a point again on this data points. I think to Councilmember Chowdhury's point, I think we should look at the numbers and look at Homeline numbers specifically. I think they do fantastic work, and I think they do a great job of distilling the statistics that we are seeing. And looking at St. Paul's, I think they've gone up over year to date, 7.7%. In eviction. So I think probably ours are probably more similar to that because they didn't have a massive outlier. And so I think when we look at data, we have to look at it with a level of fidelity that is seeing these things, right? I think if you look at the data across the state, across the 7-county metro, across greater Minnesota, you do not see this massive outlier. When we see a 60% increase year over year, one, you got to look at the causation of what those could be, right? And Homeline is saying that a large part of that is due to the 30-day pre-eviction. And so, right, if we are looking at if that is working or not, then let's also look at the other data that has been listed that Homeline gives us for 2026 of this year. We are down 12.3 in January compared to 2025. We are down 16.7% in February compared to 2025. And so while I am, again, supportive of this policy moving forward, but we cannot use data that is seen as an outlier, that is shown and listed and factually states, if we want to read every single piece that Homeline puts here, they list that a large portion of that is attributed to the 30-day pre-eviction notice. And so when we talk about data, I think you have to, and we have to, as a body, we have a responsibility to talk about that in a way that moves our arguments either forward or backwards. So when we say that evictions have gone up 60% in this city, we have to attach that to the context of the environment in which it is. And so what we are looking at, right, and the version that I am comparing it to is St. Paul, our nearest example. And so what we see with St. Paul is it has gone up 20%. And so again, when we are looking at our numbers, right, I don't want to use February as an example because we were in a different situation. I don't want to use January as an example because we have a different situation. And so, right, if we were to use January and February of this year, right, we would see a massive decrease, or sorry, not a massive, 12% decrease in numbers. And so, again, while I'm supportive of this, as I was supportive of a 45-day compromise last time, I think we have to have a level of data fidelity that matches our policies and ordinances going forward. Thank you. So I don't know. I don't think I see my time on here too. Maybe that might be me. Oh, we don't have time.
No. We're recognizing time limits. Nope. Councilmember Stevenson.
Chair, I just wanted to thank Councilmember Whiting for pointing out so efficiently and so eloquently how effective the extension of the eviction notice was, and how we should continue to do that in this time to support our neighbors.
Thank you. I'm not seeing anyone else in queue for discussion. So on the motion before the body to approve this item and send it to council for final consideration, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
No.
Vita.
No.
Warren.
No.
Osmond.
Aye.
Schaefer.
No.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Whiting.
Aye.
Palmisano.
No.
Vice Chair Chugtai.
Aye.
And Chair Chowdhury.
Aye.
There are 8 ayes and 5 nays.
That motion carries, and this item has been approved and sent to council for final consideration this Thursday. All right. We have 3 items left for us to get through, colleagues. I'm going to just wait. Let's take a couple minutes to let folks clear the chambers if they would like to. For those who are in the audience, you are certainly welcome to stay and listen to us talk about drug paraphernalia and the South Minneapolis Community Safety Center and an update on the legislative department staffing. Colleagues, at any point, if you would like for us to take a brief recess, please just send me a Teams message and we will do that. You're obviously welcome to leave at any point to take care of your needs. But okay, we are now ready to take up our discussion items. Item number 5 and 6, both of these on our published agenda, both of these were discussed at our previous committee of the whole and council meetings and were referred back to this committee for discussion today. First, we will be discussing item number 5, the drug paraphernalia decriminalization ordinance. I am going to ask the author to summarize the item and make a motion. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chukta. I want to thank everyone who has engaged in the Care Over Criminalization Ordinance, a policy that is backed by data and public health. Chair, there are a variety of amendments happening today, so I would ask the clerk please give us some guidance on how to approach it to best fit. I believe that Councilmember Warren has some amendments, Councilmember Whiting has some amendments, so I think some more direction would be helpful.
Yep, I will provide that direction right now. So Councilmember Chavez, I'm going to first ask you to make a motion to approve your ordinance.
I'm making a motion to approve the ordinance.
Second. Awesome. That item has been properly moved and seconded. At this point, amendments to the underlying ordinance that has been moved for approval and is before the body for consideration are appropriate. I see that there are 2 council members in queue waiting to make amendments. So I'm going to recognize them one by one and I will ask you to introduce your amendment, meaning summarize it for us and tell us where you're trying to make changes and what specific changes you're trying to make. And then move approval of your amendment and ask for a second. Then we will take up discussion on those amendments in the order that they were received. And once discussion commences on each amendment in order, we will take up a roll call vote on those amendments before moving on the first one before moving to the second. Once we have disposed of amendments that council members are seeking to bring forward here today, we will take up the underlying motion as amended based on which amendments prevail. Are there any procedural questions to what I have outlined here right now? Wonderful. I'm not seeing any. So with that, are there any amendments or discussion on this, on the ordinance that has been properly moved by Councilmember Chavez? I will recognize Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, Chair Chuktai. Colleagues, you will see in front of you 3 motions here that are moving to kind of amend the definitions within our drug definitions and drug paraphernalia ordinance. The best way to sum these up is it is moving this language in coordination with what is happening with state law and state statute. And so you will see a lot of strikeouts, a lot of yellow, but the large, vast majority of that, actually the complete majority of that is all to align it with state law and state statute. And so I think now I will need some procedural help on this one. Would I move all 3 motions together as an amendment, a single amendment?
So you have two options. You can either move all three of these as one single amendment. That's what I would recommend if what you're telling me is the outcome of all three of these combined is alignment with state law. If there isn't a substantive difference between the outcome that all three of these have, I would recommend moving all of them together so that we can take up discussion on that. Now, it is the prerogative of any member here to request a divided, to divide the question. And that would mean we would take up each motion one by one. So without, what is your preference? Would you like to move them all together?
All together would be great.
Okay, without objection, can we take all three of these up together if this motion is seconded?
Second.
Okay, we have a proper motion. All three of these are being taken up together. Before we move to discussion on the Whiting amendments, I'm going to recognize Councilmember Warren to to introduce her amendments, and then we'll come back and take up Amendment 1 and Amendment 2. Or is the preference right now that we just take up discussion on the Whiting amendments and then have the Warren ones? Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. So we have a proper motion before us on the Whiting amendments. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you. I'd like to ask if Councilmember Whiting would explain the third motion, because to me that's not just about cannabis, it is about children.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Palmisano. This language here, so what we had in collaboration with Councilmember Warren in the previous amendment, it is added to knowingly and intentionally. And so the state statute includes language for, I believe, individuals under the age of 18 years of age. And we are adding in, I believe, knowingly and intentionally. But I can get back to you for the specific languages.
No,
to
mostly I just wanted to point out that you've added language that helps for the protection or the criminalization of children receiving drugs. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Is anyone else wishing to ask any questions or speak to these amendments? Seeing no one in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the Whiting amendments.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Walmsley.
Aye.
Rainville.
No.
Vita.
Aye.
Warren.
No.
Osman.
No.
Schaefer.
No.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Whiting.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chigtag.
Aye.
And Chair Chowdhury.
Aye.
There are 9 ayes and 4 nays.
That motion carries. So we'll now return back to the main motion, and I will recognize Councilmember Warren to offer her amendments. Please summarize what you have brought forward and make a motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Chugtai. So drug paraphernalia, the term drug paraphernalia means all equipment and products and materials of any kind which are used, intended for use, or designed for use in manufacturing, ingesting, injecting, inhaling, or otherwise introducing them into the human body as a controlled substance. And other than marijuana, the state of Minnesota gives us discretion on paraphernalia, but cannabis is where the line is already drawn. And right now, our policies don't reflect that. If the Minneapolis Police Department stops someone for smoking a roach, that alone is not probable cause, and my amendment fixes that, clear and clean, aligned with the state law. So I don't want to blur the issue that all paraphernalia carries the same risk. A disregard to a syringe with substance residue isn't just litter, but it's a public health hazard and a safety concern. So we're talking about exposure, we're talking about risk, we're talking about biohazard, and the very real concern connected to broader criminal activity is where our attention should be. We're treating cannabis as paraphernalia, and it doesn't belong in that same category.
This amendment does not decriminalize all paraphernalia. It aligns how marijuana and how we treat marijuana related with the law that it already is being recognized by. So citations still matter. They're a tool, no different than a speeding ticket. And just like any citation, they don't equal guilt. They equal a day in court, and due process remains intact. So I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I just want to place emphasis on decriminalizing marijuana and marijuana-based products. So this is about alignment and focus and getting this right.
And Councilmember Warren, will you move approval of this?
So moved.
And is there a second? Second. Okay, we have a proper motion before us. Colleagues, is there any discussion or questions? I will recognize Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chuktai. I want to get a better understanding if this whole package is being moved together or not, because there's 3 motions, so I can make my comments.
Just Councilmember Warren moved her motions.
All together?
All three together,
Okay,
yes,
perfect.
sir.
Yep.
Great, awesome, cool. Thank you so much. Colleagues, I'm speaking out against this proposed amendment. First, these amendments create inconsistency with Minnesota's 2023 paraphernalia decriminalization law. A cannabis-only carve-out and further criminalizations in other provisions would leave Minneapolis more punitive than state law. Partial decriminalization is a policy that protects some people while criminalizing others, which would leave the door open for other discriminatory outcomes. Secondly, this amendment preserves the exact criminalization that drives people away from services. The reasoning behind the care over criminalization ordinance is that paraphernalia criminalization deters people from seeking treatment and engaging with outreach workers. This issue will not disappear because cannabis paraphernalia would be exempt, as it will continue for everyone else. Third, I'd like to remind us that the state already moved and Governor Walz signed this law into place statewide. This proposed amendments would ask Minneapolis to do less than what the state of Minnesota already did. Fourth, and lastly, care over criminalization was developed and is backed by data from experts with vast experience on the ground in the community. We know that syringe service programs reduce HIV and hepatitis C transmission by an estimated 50%. People don't stop using needles because their needles are illegal. They share needles, they can get infected and end up in our emergency rooms. A cannabis-only amendment turns its back on that evidence, and I urge my colleagues to vote against this.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chuktai. I just wanted to make sure I'm getting clarification too in my support of the Whiting Amendment, and likely will be directed at him as the author. On under 223.60 definitions, Section D has this text here that says that for the purposes of this article, any controlled substance as defined in Minnesota statutes, section blah, 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 excluding marijuana. So basically, I just wanted clarification that in your amendment, does that also allow for the decriminalization of paraphernalia tied to marijuana as well?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
It might just be helpful to also just share here that the motion number 2 on 2 and 3 of the Warren amendments are directly contradictory to the motions from Councilmember Whiting that were approved. And so if this this amendment packet is approved from Councilmember Warren, that will like undo or override the amendments that were approved by the body offered by Councilmember Whiting just a few minutes ago. Are there any questions on that?
Repeat what you just said.
So motion number 2 and motion number 3 that you have offered here today, I'm sorry, motion number 1 and motion number 3 that you've offered here today are in direct contradiction to amendments that we just approved offered by Councilmember Whiting. The effect of the approval of this amendment packet would be to undo what was just approved by the body, which the body absolutely has the discretion to do.
I understand that.
Awesome, perfect. Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Chugtai. So I've never seen a motion to maintain a section before. Could the city attorney kind of explain how this works? Is this written in intention of knowing that there was a possibility of the prior motion to be taken up? Would you just be able to explain a little bit about what we're considering with motion number 2 and 3?
I see that the attorney is pointing to the clerks to
Excellent.
explain, so I'll recognize Clerk Daler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Councilmember Chowdhury's question, so what Councilmember Warren is aiming to do here in the version
Mr.
of
Clerk, if you'll just move your mic so we can hear you better.
Yes, thank you. It's very rare that someone tells me I need to speak up. So what Councilmember Warren is attempting to do here in the version of the ordinance posted on the LIMS file authored by Councilmember Chavez, he is proposing to make changes to this section. What Councilmember Warren is essentially proposing is to disregard those changes and leave the code in that section as it currently is.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And then another question through the chair, perhaps this may be directed towards the author. Am I reading correctly? You're adding additional drugs to this ordinance: fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, PCP. Through the chair.
Councilmember Warren, would you like to address that? I believe the chair is referring to, on the first page, the new number 3, where you add fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, or PCP.
All drugs, unless otherwise prescribed, entered into the human body, that essentially lines up with Minnesota State Statute Chapter 152, where it states introducing into the human body a controlled substance. So any controlled substance introduced into the human body unless otherwise prescribed.
Okay, thank you. And then it would be helpful to kind of understand, since we're adding 4 specific substances in particular, how was this determined and who was consulted, and do we know any of the impacts on the work of our criminal division and what that would look like on the ground should we add these?
Would the author like to address that, or would the city attorney like to address that? I think that the author was deferring to you.
Sure. Chair Chowdhury, we have Deputy City Attorney David Bernstein here who can answer on the criminal division piece.
Thank you, and I'll just rephrase and repeat my question just for clarity. So with the addition of fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamine, PCP, 4 specific substances, what would be the substantive impact of including that?
Chair Chugtai, thank you. Or, I'm sorry, Chair. I'm so sorry. It's contagious. I apologize.
More than you would know. More than you would know. Can I ask you to begin by introducing yourself, sir?
Yes. My name is David Bernstein. I'm the Deputy City Attorney of the Criminal Division of the Minneapolis City Attorney's Office. Chair Chowdhury, again, my apologies. As Councilmember Warren stated, the introduction to the definition indicates all controlled substances with the addition of other than marijuana. So all controlled substances would be covered. With respect to the additions in the renumbered paragraph 3, marijuana was stricken. Cocaine was already included. The most common types of paraphernalia that law enforcement encounters, at least according to the cases that the city attorney's office sees in the criminal division, is paraphernalia used for heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamine, or PCP. So this is essentially to provide guidance to law enforcement on what to look for. This newly enumerated paragraph 3, as you can see, is one of several enumerated examples, which is why in the opening paragraph it says the term includes but is not limited to. And so this doesn't necessarily add anything. It is just to provide guidance to law enforcement.
Okay, so it could have potential operational impacts.
Chair Chowdhury, I'm not sure what you mean by operational impacts. I think it could be a training point for law enforcement in terms of what they are specifically trained to look for.
Yeah, like if there's guidance given to law enforcement, this might impact guidance from the police chief, or like you said, training, or just like looking out for individuals that may have specific paraphernalia that's related to these drugs.
And I don't want to speak on behalf of the Minneapolis Police Department, but I think that's possible that could impact the guidance, yes.
Okay, thank you. And then I just have one more question, and then I think I'm good. And this is more just to understand how the different types of paraphernalia were decided to be stricken out for marijuana. How did the author through the chair make that determination, or if the attorney has any information on how we decided which ones to be crossed out?
Councilmember Warren, would you like to address that?
Through the chair and vice chair, thank you. Yes, the items that were crossed out were associated with marijuana-related paraphernalia. So it removes bongs, reserves, roach clips, meaning objects used to hold burning materials such as marijuana or a cigarette that has become too small or too short for the hand. And it removed marijuana, hash or hashish oil.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll just make a note because I know we're in discussion. I think like should there be a consideration of, if we're looking at marijuana specifically, I just have questions about like why isn't chillums, electric pipes, water pipes included in this, because that is also used for marijuana consumption. However, at this point, I'm not able to support this motion. My greatest worry is that we will continue to criminalize hypodermic needles, and when hypodermic needles are criminalized, it leads to individuals reusing needles or sharing needles, which is a leading cause for HIV and hepatitis. And we will also be criminalizing many of our service providers that do clean needle exchanges as a form of harm reduction. And so I am worried about the spread of HIV and hepatitis as it's recorded. And I just wanted to state that for the record as something that we should consider as a major public health impact in Hennepin County.
Thank you, Chair. I'll recognize Council Member Warren.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Attorney, can you please? So my question that I would like to ask, needles that currently contain drug residue are currently right now criminal, correct?
Through the chair, Councilmember Warren, yes, that's correct.
So individuals who are utilizing needles through needle exchange programs, if needles are then left on the ground or whomever, if I was to go into my backyard or in my alleyway to pick up or clean up needles that were back there, then I am performing a criminal act. Is that correct?
Through the chair and Councilmember Warren, possibly. The way that the ordinances are currently written, that would apply. There are state statutes that create an exemption for this.
Okay, so but needles containing drug residue. So anyone who has paraphernalia on them, whether they are on their way to a needle exchange program or whatever the situation is, if they have paraphernalia of used needles that have residue in those needles or residue on equipment that was used for said purposes, it would still be considered criminal.
Through the chair, Councilmember Warren, I believe as the way the ordinances are currently written, that's correct. Again, I think there is an exemption in state statute.
So excluding paraphernalia, because we're talking about paraphernalia, but we're only talking about clean paraphernalia. We're not talking about used paraphernalia. We're only talking about within this ordinance, clean paraphernalia. So that is with the purchase of said paraphernalia, not with the use of said paraphernalia that contains drug residue, because if it contains drug residue, then that makes it criminal. Correct, attorney?
Through the chair, Councilmember Warren, as the way our ordinances are currently written, It addresses hypodermic syringes, needles, and other objects used or intended for use. There is an exemption in state statute for the transportation of hypodermic needles for safe use that have not been used. And so there is an inconsistency between our ordinances and state statutes as they address hypodermic syringes or needles.
So so what you're saying is the city is already preempted with the law as the way it stands, correct?
Potentially, that's correct, yes.
So then would this amendment align with the state law? Because if it's already preempted with the law as the way it stands, would this align with the state law? If there's already protections and provisions written around this in alignment with state statutes, so then moving this does not, the way that it's written, the way that it stands currently, moving this does not take us out of compliance. Am I correct?
Mr. Bernstein, if you want a second or like a day to just make sure you extra review the statute and what's proposed here.
Excuse me, point of order. It was my turn to speak.
I'm just addressing the attorney.
He can tell me if he wants additional time in order to research that. That's his responsibility. Okay. This is a conversation I'm having with the attorney. Decorum, please. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Go on, attorney.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
So I'm asking you, if the city is already preempted with the state law currently as it stands, with this amendment already aligned, would it already aligns with the state law, that it already has the protections written around it in order for individuals to transport needles after they've already been used or what have you? If those protections have already been put into place for individuals, then what is the necessary need for us to amend any language with respect to this ordinance?
Through the chair, Councilmember Warren, there is the exemption in state statute. I'll admit there are many proposals and amendments that are being proposed. I would need to look at all of them to determine what lines up with the state statute and whether or not our ordinances also apply the same exemption.
And attorney, can I ask again another question? What kind of penalty is associated with the possession of needles or drug paraphernalia with residue as it currently stands? What is that, a misdemeanor, or what is that?
Through the chair, Councilmember Warren, under existing ordinances, if you are possessing paraphernalia or needles in a public place, it is a misdemeanor charge. If it's not in a public place, in other words, a private place, it is a petty misdemeanor offense.
Okay, so there would be no serious criminalization around someone who is possessing or not possessing, but would in turn give them still access to due process in court.
Through the chair, Councilmember Warren, if there's an investigation and a citation issued, if they are charged with possessing drug paraphernalia in a public place, that is a misdemeanor charge that carries potential criminal consequences. But you are correct. They are given due process. They go to court. The city attorney's office does have many diversion programs and are able to negotiate these cases accordingly.
Okay, so there's intervention practices that are currently put in place and are still in place currently as it stands.
Through the chair, Councilmember Warren, that's correct.
Thank you.
I'll recognize Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai. Quick question, kind of just how we, maybe I think it's helpful to how we kind of prosecute and make charging decisions based on ordinance or state statute. And so when, in our instance, right, we know that the statutes on the books for the decriminalization of drug paraphernalia at the state allow for local level control. Before that statute was on the books, did the city attorney's office use the state statute to charge, or do we use kind of ordinance language? I'm just curious, broadly.
Through the chair, Councilmember Whiting, the city attorney's office has always relied upon the ordinance language.
Okay, helpful. Thank you. And then just taking a peek here to Councilmember Warren's point, reading from state statute 151.025, controlled substance crime in the 5th degree, so possession and otherwise. And so we have on the books under subdivision .2, under 1, the person unlawfully possesses one or more mixtures containing the controlled substance classified in Schedule 1, 2, 3, or 4, except cannabis flower, cannabis products, lower potency hemp edibles, or hemp-derived consumer products, or a residual amount of one or more mixtures of controlled substances contained in drug paraphernalia. And so I think it is my understanding at the moment, it sounds like Attorney Bernstein as well is also noted that there seems to be language currently happening at the state legislature to figure out what that specific definition of residual amount is. And so I know that is currently happening, but I think it helps maybe talk through a little bit more of the context to Councilmember Warren's point. It seems like it's an ongoing process at the moment. So, yeah. Thank you.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you. Just to kind of high level reiterate this, and colleagues, you can correct me if I'm incorrect here, but particularly in Chavez, Councilmember Chavez and Councilmember Whiting's amendments and changes, in addition to some other small tweaks, the main thing that we are allowing as a body is the use of drug paraphernalia, of any drug paraphernalia, in public. That is between Chavez and Whiting. The difference, in my mind, of Councilmember Warren's amendment, different from the other two, is it would not allow for the public use of any drug paraphernalia, excluding cannabis. And then Attorney Bernstein, I had one question relating to that. How would that, if Councilmember Warren's amendment were to move forward, how would that impact other jurisdictions within our city?
Through the chair, Councilmember Schaefer, when you're referring to other jurisdictions, can you specify what you're referring to?
MPS, Park Board, et cetera. You may remember, I was a park commissioner before I came on this board, and one of the things that we worked on is we do have a rule to disallow cannabis smoking in our public parks. So I'm trying to understand how Warren's amendment relates to other jurisdictions' rules around cannabis smoking, either in relation to, and I don't know if there any are around MPS, but I do know there are around parks and our national parks. So could you speak a little bit to that?
Through the chair, Councilmember Schaefer, I'm hesitant to speak about administrative rules. What I can say is that the Minneapolis Park Police does enforce this ordinance. And so if there is a complaint brought to their attention, they have the ability to respond and investigate.
Okay, as it's currently written.
That's correct, and
Okay.
with Councilmember Warren's amendment.
Correct. All right, thank you so much.
Council President Payne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify that we're having multiple conversations. One of them is about the use of drugs. The other is about the use of drug paraphernalia. And then finally, what this ordinance is about is the possession of drug paraphernalia, which is something separate and apart from use of drugs or paraphernalia. And then the other conversation that's also happening is around the value or belief in a public health approach to substance use disorder. In my research, I just got up on my screen. I had to look it up. It's from the 90s, 1995, where they demonstrate epistemological data that suggests that access to clean needles reduces HIV. And that is why this is getting brought forward right now, is because this has been studied not just by the state legislature, but by the federal government going back to the 90s, that this is the most effective path towards solving some of these public health crises, because people who use and reuse needles can not just be infected with diseases like HIV, but then it adds more of that infection to the population. And so the formal recommendation from the NIH is that legislative bodies should remove legal sanctions for the possession of injection paraphernalia. So again, this is not about legalizing public use, public, shooting up of fentanyl. This is about making sure that people have access to clean paraphernalia so that we are not spreading disease. So Councilmember Whiting's amendment sought to align our language as close as possible to the state statute that is intended to bring these public health best practices to the city of Minneapolis, which everyone has a vote. They can agree or disagree with that approach, but we should be discussing the approach, which is a public health approach to the possession of drug paraphernalia so that we can reduce the spread of intravenous diseases.
I'll recognize Councilmember Rainville.
So I have a question because my approach is livability crimes. I want people to live in the city and especially take public transportation. So my question is, decriminalizing drug paraphernalia, what effect will that have on Metro Transit's ability to monitor the bus stops, the trains, the buses?
Through the chair, Councilmember Rainville, my understanding is that the Metro Transit Police Department does use this ordinance to investigate complaints from riders or from individuals who are at bus shelters or Metro Transit light rail stations that are concerned about open air drug use in the shelters, in the stations, on the light rails, on buses. Without the criminalization of possession of drug paraphernalia, it would limit law enforcement's ability to respond and investigate. They need to have reasonable articulable suspicion of criminal activity. With drug paraphernalia being a misdemeanor, that is criminal activity that provides reasonable suspicion to investigate. Without that, they would need something else. It's difficult to say in a vacuum what they would need. It's always a case-by-case basis, but it would likely limit their ability to respond and investigate.
Sure, and then as a follow-up then, we heard testimony that when someone is using drugs and drug paraphernalia, one is a felony, one is a misdemeanor. So many times they help them make the choice to go into treatment and cure their problem. The felony is dropped and then the misdemeanor is upheld. We've heard that's true?
Through the chair, Councilmember Rainville, felonies are prosecuted by the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but the City Attorney's Office does prosecute gross misdemeanor charges, and this paraphernalia ordinance is used for negotiation purposes. As you mentioned, if someone is successful in treatment, the City Attorney's Office has offered to dismiss the gross misdemeanor in exchange for a plea to this lower charge.
Thank you.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Yes, I just wanted to see if I can, you said, I want to follow up on one of the comments you made. You didn't really say whether it could, if this change in Councilmember Warren's amendment would have any impact on a rule. So I'm just trying to understand if a city ordinance trumps a separate jurisdiction's rule that lives within that city.
Through the chair, Councilmember Schaefer, I can't speak much to rulemaking authority. I can imagine that rulemaking authority might be guided by what ordinance and statutes are present. So perhaps that might inform rulemaking decisions, but one necessarily does not directly impact the other.
Okay, thank you. And then President Payne, you made a comment. We all know we're talking about drug paraphernalia. I understand.
Councilmember, please refer all comments through the chair.
Sure, yes. Chair Chowdhury, I just wanted to address the comment that we are talking about drug paraphernalia. I understand that, not drugs. But to me, my understanding is that we are striking the language that says it is unlawful for any person to use or possess drug paraphernalia in a public place. So in my mind, that does allow the use of drug paraphernalia in a public place. if we're striking that language.
Are you asking a question?
I'm just stating a clarification of what was stated earlier. Thank you. That's it.
Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Ty. I think it's helpful. It seems like I just want to clarify some things here. I know we've had productive conversations, discussions over the past month about our efforts to align this Minneapolis ordinance with state decriminalization of drug paraphernalia and moving to Minneapolis towards more of a health-based approach on substance use. And so under current state statute, while drug paraphernalia possession has been decriminalized, drug possession or drug use has not been decriminalized. And nothing in this ordinance that aligns with state law does that. And so to Council Member Schaefer's points, right, if someone is actively using drugs in a public place, that is not decriminalized. That is still illegal under both state statute and Minneapolis ordinance. And so I think what we have seen here today is what this amendment is hoping to do is remove those criminal penalties for drug paraphernalia broadly. And so we have seen an over-reliance in the criminal justice system for substance use and that it doesn't work. And so we understand the health effects to that. And so just have a few kind of quick questions here. I know our attorney mentioned it, that drug paraphernalia can be used as reasonable articulable suspicion to conduct further searches and institute kind of a probable cause search. To our attorney here, are there other kind of characteristics, indicators that MPD, Metro Transit use for reasonable articulable suspicion to kind of come to that decision?
Through the chair, Councilmember Whiting, perhaps. The difficulty is when someone is using some substance, law enforcement doesn't know what substance they're using and whether it may be a legal or illegal substance. And so they investigate. And there needs to be a basis upon which to investigate. The presence of drug paraphernalia provides that basis to investigate further. Without that, law enforcement would need more specific information about what substance they're using. I haven't been trained by law enforcement. I can't answer that directly, but I believe through my review of cases, it's difficult to identify that without doing that investigation, and usually the drug paraphernalia provides the basis to investigate further.
Good, helpful. And just kind of reading here too from our legal info, LII, which we all know in the area of kind of the legal definitions of kind of words broadly that we use. And so kind of using usage examples for reasonable articulable suspicion. I agree with you that drug paraphernalia is a tool that is used to find reasonable articulable suspicion. But other things like physical indicators such as bloodshot eyes, watery eyes, dilated or constricted pupils, slurred speech, unsteady walking, behavioral changes, erratic behavior, mood swings, violent outbursts, hyperactivity, performance issues, sudden poor performance, sleeping, frequent or unexplained absences, accidents, direct observation, seeing someone use, possess, or distribute drugs. Let's use reliable reports from a coworker otherwise using drug involvement, safety incidents. And so I think as we know that reasonable articulable suspicion uses tools and indicators, right? The smell of marijuana is used for RAS and otherwise. And so I think it is helpful to acknowledge that, right, while drug paraphernalia has been used as reasonable articulable suspicion and to kind of continue probable cause searches and otherwise, we have a wide swath of tools for the usage of MPD and our law enforcement officials to find RAS as well.
Thank you. Anything else?
It's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To me, I don't want to limit MPD's ability to seek and establish probable cause or to have people's attorneys be able to plead down cases into misdemeanors and instead end up with felony drug charges for something. But What Councilmember Whiting just mentioned was that this is all about the ability to establish probable cause. He mentioned other ways, I think, to establish probable cause. Are these ordinance changes going to limit our ability to target drug dealers?
Through the chair, Councilmember Palmisano, I think that's a very possible outcome, yes. I agree with Councilmember Whiting that there are other means by which to investigate. The frequency by which we see these other indicators I can't speak to, but through case law and through my experience, the drug paraphernalia is one that is commonly used to find evidence of other crimes, including sale or intent to sell.
Right. I have difficulty voting for that, and I might have just honestly with the first motion. I'm afraid I really am looking to target drug dealers and not necessarily criminalize drug users on felony drug charges. To that end, well, that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Councilmember Warren in queue, but I'll just note that you're in for your third speech and we are only allowed 2 speeches. So I'll continue to the next speaker, Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Chugtai. To the city attorney, could you state that inconsistency again with state law that had to do with the exception for hypodermic needles? I feel like I was out of the room. I heard it when I was out of the room, but I missed it in its entirety.
Yes, Chair Chowdhury, there is a state statute that's fairly extensive that addresses possession and sale of hypodermic syringes and needles. It's Statute 151.40. It indicates that it's unlawful for any person to manufacture or sell hypodermic syringes or needles or any instrument except for, and there's a large list of exceptions. One of those includes a syringe services provider, and that is also defined in statute. And so those are exemptions to the hypodermic syringe and needles.
Okay, great. And I'm going to ask maybe for a follow-up from you, if you could send that statute, that part of it to us. I would like to look further at the exemptions that exist. I think like that's a very big inconsistency that we're setting up in our code if we're allowing for exemption for providers at state level. I think, for me, I think that is something at a base that we should have in the city of Minneapolis. And if that's not included, then I'm really worried about what the impacts will be. I will also ask for an administrative follow-up from the city attorney's office to get some clarity on the numbers that exist in terms of the number of times in year-to-date MPD has used the ordinance around criminalizing drug paraphernalia in the cases that we've been involved in. It's also been stated that we could use, the city attorney's office has used treatment as a negotiation point. It would be interesting to know the number of times that has occurred. It's my understanding from public health experts that forced treatment is a tool that could be used, but is not very successful to long-term recovery. And I don't want to communicate that us criminalizing and then forcing people into treatment, if they accept it while they are interacting with the criminal justice system, is us doing them a favor, because that's not what public health evidence shows. Motivation to recover from your addiction is a very key step. As someone who has several people in my life who are in long-term recovery, that's always been the thing that they have stated for me from their experience, is that they needed to have the intrinsic motivation themselves to do that. So I would love to get that data from the criminal division before we take up a final vote on Thursday.
Clerks, were you able to note the administrative follow-up from the chair that was just outlined? Awesome, thank you. And then finally, I'll recognize Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair. Based on the answer that the city attorney just gave around the impact of targeting drug dealers, I would really like to change my vote on the Whiting amendment, and I would like to split the vote for myself, and I think Palmisano as well. It won't make a difference, but I'd like to vote no on 1 and 2, and then yes on 3, please.
Okay, so let's take that up in just a second,
Okay.
because I see that you're the last person in queue, so let's take up this item, and then I'll come back to both you and Councilmember Palmisano, and anyone else that would like to make any changes to their votes on the previous
Thank
motion.
you.
Okay, seeing no one else in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the Warren amendments.
Councilmember Payne.
Nay.
Wansley.
Nay.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vita.
Aye.
Warren.
Aye.
Osmond.
No.
Schaefer.
No is no.
Aye.
Thank you.
I don't even know what we voted.
Stevenson.
No.
Chavez.
No.
Whiting.
No.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chugtai.
Nay.
Chair Chowdhury.
No.
We have 5 ayes and 8 nays.
That motion fails. The Whiting amendments, there are just a couple of changes in votes that, without objection, I'll recognize first Councilmember Vita to update, and that's just of the 3 motions. There's some changes within those that she's hoping to make, and then I'll recognize Councilmember Palmisano. If there's anyone else that would like to get in queue to change any votes, please go ahead and do that right now. First, we'll go to Councilmember Vita. Clerks, if you're ready, just let us know.
The motion to...
On the Whiting motions, like Whiting motion number 3, 1, 2, and 3. So there's changes among those.
Got it.
So that's no, no, yes.
Okay, so
Yes on
Councilmember Vita would like to change her vote to Whiting number 1, no. Whiting number 2, no. Whiting number 3, yes. Okay.
If there's no objection from the body, we can make that correction.
Okay. Is there any objection? Excellent. Thank you. Now we'll go to Councilmember Palmisano.
Sorry. The same for me.
If there's no objection, no on motion 1 and 2, and aye on motion 3.
Awesome. Councilmember Warren, are you in queue? Are you in queue to change your vote on anything?
For number 3, that was my original, one of my original amendments when we first took up. It was to add that. So yes, if we're doing a separate vote on that 3.
We're on the Whiting number 3.
Whiting number 3, yes,
Yep.
ma'am. I'm telling you, that's what I wanted to do, was to vote yes. If we're doing a separate vote on this, then 3, I'm still voting for 3. That was my original, one of my original amendments.
As I understand it, Madam Chair, Councilmember Palmisano, Vita, and Warren are voting no on Whiting's first and second motion and voting yes on the third motion.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, let's reset queue and now we're going to return to the main motion because I don't want Councilmember Warren to have used one of her speeches to change her, update her votes. Yep. Okay, all right. We've disposed of amendments brought forward by council members to the underlying motion. We're now ready to take up the underlying motion and the ordinance as amended. Is there any discussion? We have a motion to approve this. I will recognize Councilmember Chavez.
Scratch that. The motion has been made.
What?
Ignore it. The motion was already made. I was going to make the motion to approve. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said never mind.
Gotcha. Anyone else? Councilmember Stevenson.
Sorry, I'll be very quick as council members are asking me not to speak. You got me thrown off. Okay, so I would have been done by now if you hadn't said that. We are not with this legalizing public drug use. That is not what's happening here. What we're doing is allowing for harm reduction to more efficiently and legally happen in our city. This is an important thing for us to do. We should do this. It will help people. It will help move us beyond this epidemic of drug use in our city. This is an important step forward, and we should do it right away.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm still very concerned about the implications of repealing this ordinance and not leaving ourselves more options in the city of Minneapolis. We've used existing possession of paraphernalia ordinance in many instances to allow a person to plead down an actual drug charge. My understanding, though, is it's been used about 25 times. I don't know in what time frame that is, but 15 of which led to someone getting into treatment. If we take this away, we could be pushing more drug-related offenses to be charged at a higher level, gross misdemeanor or felony, since we no longer have this misdemeanor level charge to consider. I understand there's disagreement about whether removing this possession language in our code would de-incentivize somebody to seek treatment and address their physical and mental health needs, or if it causes harm. In my opinion, which we are each allowed to have up here, repealing this ordinance takes away any consequences and could lead to worse outcomes. I fully embrace the concept that drug use and addiction need to be addressed through a public health lens, but I do not believe that allowing possession of drug paraphernalia is the public health approach. I don't see anything here that responds to the underlying causes of use and addiction. That's not what this ordinance really is, and that's really the starting point. But for me, decriminalizing possession of paraphernalia is not the answer.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Councilmember Warren.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Drug paraphernalia in our city and on our city streets is extremely dangerous, and it saddens me because I know without a shadow of a doubt, because I have been there and I've been Narcan trained and have aided individuals who have overdosed, and I spoke very freely on this body about dealing with not only my sister, but also my son who struggled with opioid addiction. Those are not responsible addictions. And so when individuals do obtain clean needles, because we are giving them out for their health, safety, and well-being, the substance that they utilize with those needles causes them to nod and to nod off and to drift off into a sleep or a comatic state in order to enjoy their high. And when they do that, to enjoy their high, they are not saying, oh, let me be responsible and grab this needle off the ground so some child or whomever doesn't pick it up. If you've watched someone utilize a substance of this nature, they then, nod off, they drift, they drool, they stand, they freeze like they're playing an involuntary game of freeze tag. There is not a responsible behavior that is associated with the use of the substance that is associated with the paraphernalia. When they receive the paraphernalia, they do not go home and do dope with dignity. They don't go home and take it home and use it in the privacy of their own home, which is the reason why our streets are confettied with needles and substances. And that's the reason why our Cub Foods, even in North Minneapolis, you can't get aluminum foil, you can't get SOS pads, you can't get these things in the store to even clean your house or prepare for a barbecue, because these things are associated with paraphernalia and drug use. And I wish that individuals had the capacity to use dope with dignity if that's your choice. If that's your choice, then take your paraphernalia and take your syringes, take your cotton balls, take your tourniquets and everything else home and utilize it at home. But unfortunately, that's not even a safe place, because when you take the paraphernalia home and these things are happening at home, we have instances where children and babies are utilizing or picking these things up and injecting themselves with the small amounts of residue that are left that become life detrimental. I cannot place enough emphasis on this, and I am really sorry that individuals throughout the city or on this body do not see the severity of this. But if you've ever had to administer your child Suboxone in an emergency room while they're overdosing, and you've witnessed the exorcism and violent vomiting and diarrhea of everything that is coming out of their body, then you would feel absolutely different about the impacts of this. I prayed as a mother for my child to be incarcerated, because then at least I knew he was safe, he was getting the medical help that he needed, he was getting the treatment, and he was on steps to recovery if it meant that he was only sober for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever amount of days that I had to be able to reach him in this critical moment and state, then I was thankful and I was grateful. And right now, my son is sober, and I'm thankful to God for that moment. But until you have walked that path, and until you have experienced it in your living room, in your home firsthand, then you will not understand the adverse impacts of what this paraphernalia stirs into. And I gave the example of the cookie. I'm going to give the example of the actual thing. This is dangerous. I have experienced it firsthand, and individuals who are using this paraphernalia do not have the capacity or the capability to utilize it responsibly that protects not just themselves but others around them. And I am frightened of that and the impacts that it will have on our city without proper interventions and penalties being put into place in order to protect us all and the children. In fact, the end.
Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Schaefer.
Yes, this is something we heard many people speak to around livability issues in our city. And we heard from Uptown residents. We heard from, well, I know from Nicollet Mall issues in Stevens Square area, that we need to take our sidewalks back. We heard loud and clear from Uptown and from other places that we want to be able to enjoy our local restaurants, walk to the corner store, use the library in such a way so that we do not have open drug use on the bench trying to take our kids to the library. And one of the tools that we heard from MPD in this discussion was a tool that they used to be able to ferret out, is this a drug dealer? Is this someone that we should search further for additional violations? And so I cannot support this, and I just hope that we can think about how are we making changes to bring back the livability of our streets so that everyone can feel comfortable and can have our businesses thrive.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Ty. I will actually name as someone who also has supported a loved one through a substance use disorder and seen them multiple times get incarcerated and then go back home and still deal with the same addiction struggles over and over again. Seeing that reality in itself means that us relying on people who are under the influence of addictions, relying on the possibility of them getting into treatment through their contact with a cop or with the criminal justice system, that over-reliance is not proven to be effective. And I think this is that reality that motivated a number of colleagues to say, let's actually expand the type of tools that we can use to make sure that we're getting people the help that they need to get them into long-term recovery. And I just want to reiterate this too, because there is, I would say, an intentional conflation. No one up here is condoning drug use. No one wants to see our residents have, and we've gotten many reports that noted that the most increasing numbers of people experiencing substance use are our younger folks and people of color. No one wants to constantly see that. But we also know that locking people up, hiding the problem, doesn't also solve the matter as well. So I think this is our effort to say, let's figure out that robust pathway of options. And a number of us have spent the past year doing that work. We worked with the Frye administration cultivating an opioid response strategic plan. We're about to talk about work plans right now and that multi-million-dollar opioid settlement fund and what we could be doing differently to get people into long-term recovery options. We will be able to have that conversation around long-term addiction services and treatment responses in our committees, and work with the administration and through our budgetary channels to actually move money towards those things. But that doesn't mean we need to stop there. Policy efforts that do not criminalize people's journey into recovery, we need to make sure we're prioritizing policies that complement the addiction and treatment services work. But so often we don't have that complement. We rely on the criminalization, we rely on locking people away because it makes us uncomfortable, instead of doing the deep work of when a provider comes in front of us and say, I do want to provide rehabilitation in our community, and that might mean I have to live and open up this place in your community, that we say, okay, let's figure it out. But too often in this space, we've seen people rally the same voices to push against that, to say, not in my backyard. When we all have collectively recognized it is happening in our backyards. That's why we're mobilizing syringe services. That's why council funded that. Though we do have services, and I encourage residents, because we heard from you, if you do have syringes littered all throughout your communities, we've funded a service, call 311, to make sure that you don't have to pick that up, that your children do not have to pick those things up. Call 311, we have those services, and while we're providing those type of services, while we're providing mobile medical units, while we're funding partnerships with our university partners in our communities to do medical responses, we're doing all of that work and advancing policies that doesn't allow people's only pathway towards recovery to be through bar cells or jail cells. And that is the work that I'm proud of this body, and that's why I'm supporting the ordinance as it's amended.
Chair Chowdhury.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I just wanted to state for the public, just to make sure that people understand, not passing this ordinance isn't going to clean up the streets. It's not going to pick up the litter of needles on the ground. This is the current status quo. We currently criminalize drug paraphernalia, and in the status quo, we see the litter that people are talking about. So not passing this doesn't fix that, and I want to make that very clear. Not passing this also doesn't stop the drug use that you see out in our community, in the public, because it's happening currently and we have criminalized it. So I really want to get that across. What not passing this does is it continues a climate of shame and isolation for those that are facing addiction. And I myself also have people in my life who have experienced addiction. Their story is not mine to tell, so I will not tell about it. But what I do know is shame and isolation was never the path for them. What I do know is that once you enter and interact with the criminal justice system, the likelihood of you coming back and interacting with the criminal justice system only goes up. That's called recidivism. Criminalization is not the answer. Public health providers across the board have said that, including the Minnesota Medical Association, physicians that have come out and said, this is not a practice that is going to engender a climate in which we reduce addiction. So I want to make that abundantly clear.
And finally, Councilmember Whiting.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai. I will be brief. I share the same, I think, sentiments that many of my colleagues do, and specifically Councilmember Schaefer, that we should bring back our streets and engage in a level of open drug use is not okay in our streets. And I don't think anybody on this body is saying that. I've actually heard to the contrary. I would like to note, I think as Councilmember Chowdhury just noted, every single one of these instances right now has been with this on the books, with drug paraphernalia legalization on the books, or sorry, criminalization on the books. And so if we are talking about these things as if drug paraphernalia decriminalization is the reason we are seeing open drug use in the city of Minneapolis, and that's just not the case. And so right while I hear the concerns and frustrations, particularly if this can be used for a continuation of probable cause searches, I would like to note that, I appreciate Councilmember Warren, Councilmember Vita, and others that have shown that they are trying to come and find an answer that works as well. And so I think, we'll have continued conversations from probably today until Thursday to hopefully come up with a path forward that works for the vast majority of us, and that doesn't come back to us at another council meeting. And so with that, thank you, and happy to have these conversations in the next couple of days.
Seeing no one else in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the drug paraphernalia decriminalization ordinance as amended.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
No.
Vita.
No.
Warren.
No.
Osman.
No.
Schaefer.
No.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Whiting.
Aye.
Palmisano.
No.
Vice Chair Chugtai.
Aye.
And Chair Chowdhury.
Aye.
There are 7 ayes and 6 nays.
That motion carries. That motion carries. All right. Next up, we have item number 5, the non-traditional and culturally specific community mental health and well-being services at the South Minneapolis Community Safety Center. This item was sent back to this committee at council as one of our colleagues had some questions, and we weren't able to get a hold of anyone in the Office of Community Safety to come and answer those. So I will welcome up Director Will Christensen from the Office of Community Safety and Ms. Graves from the Health Department for an updated presentation at this time. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Chowdhury and Vice Chair Chugtai. My name is Will Christensen, Director of Design and Implementation with the Office of Community Safety. Today, in partnership with the Health Department, we'll be requesting approval of a resolution to transfer $500,000 in public safety aid funding for mental health services in the South Minneapolis Safety Center. We will also present information to address questions from the April 7th Committee of the Whole meeting. First, a quick review of the construction process and timeline. Construction is expected to start in May 2026. Our goal is to open the center and be fully operational by the end of 2026. Property Services will be meeting with the general contractor immediately after the contract is finalized to find acceleration opportunities. OCS is already running some operational planning in parallel, partner convenings, service design, staffing, and IT readiness. So council will receive updates on key milestones as they are finalized. Also, a quick review of the services that will be in the South Minneapolis Safety Center. The center brings together multiple safety-related services, the MPD 3rd Precinct 311 Service Center, Youth Connection Center, Community Safety Ambassadors who will be based out of the center. The site also houses several safety pilots, human trafficking prevention, mental health services, which we're covering today, culturally specific navigators, and domestic violence navigators. To address some of the questions during the April 7th Committee of the Whole meeting, staff have looked at this and determined that the public safety aid allocated for community safety center pilots was originally designed to support a coordinated service delivery approach in which multiple community-centered services are co-located and integrated in the same building. Co-location is essential to that model, ensuring streamlined access, warm handoffs, shared case management, and trauma-informed environments. Staff also evaluated whether mental health services could begin prior to the opening of the South Minneapolis Safety Center by temporarily operating from Lake Street Safety Center. After more than a year of operating that location, I identified several limitations. The first of which is physical space constraints. The Lake Street site has only one private conference room, limiting the ability to provide confidential trauma-informed direct service. Existing space is also insufficient for up to 4 different organizations planned in the mental health services RFP, or multiple clinicians working at the same time. And then any mental health services that were placed in this Lake Street Center would need to displace organizations currently working out of Lake Street. Some operational efficiencies and added costs were also identified. Standing up a temporary location would require additional staffing, onboarding, IT equipment, administrative setup. And then the startup costs would be repeated when we move those to the South Minneapolis Safety Center. Staff wants to avoid duplication that places any unintended pressure on those one-time public safety funds. And then finally, the community impact and service disruption to community members. We want to be wary of launching services at a temporary site, then relocating those services, confusing community members about where to access support. We don't want to undermine any continuity of care, reduce trust, or limit access for those already navigating complex systems. So finally, the South Minneapolis Community Safety Center is intended to be a fully integrated, high-performing service hub. We do not want to undermine the co-located service model that was envisioned by City Council. We want to make sure we do not reduce funding available to have a successful launch of services in the service center or the safety center when it becomes operational. And so we are recommending that maintaining the planned funding strategy ensures that the safety center opens fully functional, capable of delivering high quality services on day one. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to April Graves from the Health Department to highlight some alternatives for delivering mental health services in community.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury, Vice Chair Chuktai. April Graves, Senior Public Health Specialist. First, I'm going to just talk a little bit about some of the mental health and community well-being work that is already happening. We have mental health therapists throughout our school-based clinics at the following Minneapolis public high schools: Camden, Roosevelt, South, Southwest, and Washburn. During the 2024-25 school year, our therapists provided almost 3,000 mental health visits to students. We don't have any comprehensive data yet for the current school year, but we will. Also, in response to Operation Metro Surge, the Neighborhood Safety Department provided trauma-informed healing opportunities for our community-based providers and violence interrupters through a contract that the Health Department has with Drake Powell, a stress reduction and de-escalation trainer, public speaker and transformation coach, and I also helped with those healing opportunities, of which there are more under discussion. I'll also say that in the last couple months since I actually stepped into this role in January, I led wellness and healing practices and workshops for school-based clinic staff who also are experiencing burnout from what they've been feeling, working with the students. I also have done work with the Health Department's Anti-Racist Equity Leadership Development Group which was also like a self-care and mindfulness wellness practice. I also met with a community group of fathers, a fatherhood group, young fathers. And then there's also an upcoming NCR community engagement group that the city regularly hosts monthly that they've asked me to come and lead some wellness activities for. In addition, I'm also the co-chair for the Community Health Improvement Partnership 3.0 Mental Health Action Team, which meets monthly. I don't know if you guys know a lot about CHIP, but it's a coalition of partners from across the community using a collaborative approach to improving people's health. It's committed to equity and informed by data and is focused on community mental well-being and currently access to basic needs are those two action groups. I'm also working on leading something called COMET trainings, which is an acronym for Changing Our Mental Emotional Trajectory. It's really for community members in multiple different areas, but the first one that we're planning to host is actually in May at the Atrium Minneapolis Public Housing Apartments, just down the road, downtown. And then in August, I'll be leading one at the North Regional Library, and in November at the Hosmer Library over South. And then for 2027, quarterly trainings are also planned. Just a little bit about what COMET is. It's a 2-hour interactive training that teaches participants how to reach out in meaningful, respectful, and supportive ways to friends, coworkers, or acquaintances who seem to be struggling somewhere on the continuum between wellness and mental health crisis. So it's not mental health first aid or psychological first aid. It's really more of a preventative measure for people to intervene just at that very first sign of like maybe something's wrong. I can tell you're upset, you don't seem like yourself, that kind of thing. I also am working with the YCB, the Youth Coordinating Board, Minneapolis Public Schools, and Hennepin County to plan for the creation of mental health and well-being peer support groups at 2 different high schools, one on the north side, one on the south side, with the goal being to implement in the 26-27 school year. So those conversations are ongoing. We also are, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Child Friendly Cities Local Action Plan and Initiative. The 3 core areas include community safety, mental health, and child's rights in learning and education. So these 3 priorities now form the foundation of the Minneapolis Child Friendly Cities Local Plan and Initiative, representing the community's shared vision for increasing child friendliness and ensuring the rights and needs of all young people in Minneapolis are met. I'm not directly in charge of that work, but I'm involved in that work, and it is a collaboration that's led with health department staff. Whoops. I also have been supporting and attending an ongoing forum for child and youth safety and well-being, and that's been convening over the last like 5 or 6 months and led by the YCB with other community partners. This fall, we're also planning the Partners for Youth Conference. It's a conference that brings together youth-serving practitioners and community leaders to learn and engage around topics that address quality after-school time, social-emotional learning, racial equity, youth-adult partnerships, youth employment, and violence prevention. And just as a health department, we have many contracted community mental health partners that we collaborate with, which include but are not limited to Hennepin County, NAMI, Minnesota, community clinics, the Kente Circle, et cetera. In regards to like starting something potentially before the building being fully finished, I could see us doing some kind of outreach events, but not necessarily providing initial services. So something that would help spread awareness of the non-traditional and culturally specific mental health and well-being practices that will be available, something that will help build trust with community members as well as across contracted partner organizations, because I foresee that we'll probably have 3 or 4 different contracted partners just to be able to make sure that those services are actually culturally specific. And then also those events could serve as marketing for services that could be made available once the safety center is open. So I would not recommend starting services in another location if the intent is to have it be housed at the community safety center. I think it reduces the likelihood of cross-cultural trust building, and it could cause confusion or reluctance by community members when the location changes. We've made many adjustments to the RFP and the timeline to align with the council approval process, and I do appreciate the time and the care that goes into each step. Each stage, including council presentations, requires coordination and capacity, which we are balancing alongside ongoing work to support community mental health and well-being, of which, other than the school-based clinic staff, I'm the only staff in the health department with that assignment. With that in mind, Timely approval of this request to move funds will help keep the process moving forward and reduce the risk of delays in establishing contracts, particularly as they work toward having those services in place and aligned with anticipated opening of the Community Safety Center. And with that, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. I see Council Member Wansley in queue.
Thank you, Chair Chuktai. Thanks, staff, for coming forward and finally speaking on this item that's warranted about 2 weeks of discussion amongst this council. I just want to level set in terms of why there was a delay. It was actually on the basis that you opened up the presentation with is there's a question mark over the opening date. And that is exactly why we wanted to know, well, why are we bringing a contract where, according to your presentation, the RFP opens in June, and it seems like it'll be, you know, a selection of a vendor, I'm assuming by this summer. And there's still a question mark of when would this service be administered in the community, co-located at the South Community Safety Center when there's no opening date. That has been the overarching piece. As someone who brought the funding for these type of pilots, the whole goal was around co-location. But I think that was all with the goal of, we had a different opening time at that moment. We were told 2025, then it's 2026, and you've been asked multiple times, when is that concrete date? And there still is not. So can you share what has been communicated to prospective vendors who are going to apply to this around when they should be anticipating administration of these services, should they be selected?
Well, first of all, the RFP has not even come before you guys yet, so that still has to happen.
Oh, no, I said that. I said in the presentation,
okay.
You mentioned the RFP will be available come June 7th.
Through the chair, that was the plan. I'm not sure that that date actually will work now.
Oh,
yeah.
What's changed?
Well, getting on the calendar again for, I don't know, how, excuse me, through the chair, I don't know the exact calendar dates. I work with the contracting staff to help me go through that process. I do also have to change the timeline, which is also indicated in the RFP. So the contracting staff helps me figure out, like, all right, what date do we need to put it? Then you have to have like the pre-proposal call to answer questions. If people have questions on the proposal, before the end of the proposal date, a certain amount of time to do all the reviews. Like all of that stuff can take several weeks to several months. So at this point, I mean, I thought I was getting an early start because I got on this immediately when I got hired in January. It was the first thing I was trying to get done. And I didn't know about having to do the RCA to transfer the funds until after I had already finished drafting the RFP. And so now I'm just anxious to do the work, because the work's not going to happen if the money doesn't get moved. And then eventually we're going to come back with RFP and eventually with the contracts, and through every step, the council is going to have say on whether they feel like the work is happening in the way that they would like it to happen.
Right. I think the clarification here that we're asking for is, when is the work going to happen based off of the RFP? So just start line question here. Based off of anticipated opening of the RFP in June, which if you got approved this cycle, it shouldn't take 3 months to do a lot of prep work that you've already done. In anticipation of that, how long do you think it would take for the vendor selection process?
At least a month.
Okay, so again, we're in the summer selection process. So we'll have a clarity on what the vendor or who the vendor will be. And then that vendor will be on pause until, and just for reiteration, when is the Community Safety Center opening up?
Chair Chowdhury, Councilmember Wansley, it is our goal to open by the end of 2026.
The goal. Okay, so they will be on ice for the next 6 months, essentially. 5 or 6 months.
Through the chair, my thought process was that we would open up the RFP in June, keep it open for a month, close it, spend a month reviewing, then spend like the next month, probably month and a half, if there's 3 or 4 different contracts, really fleshing out those contracts. So in my mind, I saw it all kind of being settled by maybe like mid-September, and then that would give me some time to just like bring people together to meet each other, do some onboarding, talk to them a little bit more about working through the invoicing process, make sure they have the insurance and all the things that they have to really fully execute that contract. To start, my thought was December 1. That was what was in the original RFP.
Okay, that's good clarification.
And
on
if,
the
and if I may
timeline.
add to that, Chair Chowdhury, Councilmember Wansley, we do anticipate there to be quite a bit of pre-planning going on with these different partners. So we'd bring folks together, do the planning, so that when the opening date becomes known for the safety center, we could launch and be operational at that time.
Yeah, and I just want to know, this is not, I will say particularly for you, Director Graves, there is no question that staff has done their due diligence. Where we're constantly hitting an issue and roadblock is you're doing your due diligence, but there's no opening date, and it keeps being pushed back. So this is where the interim solution was, if we have all these services, you've already selected a vendor to do human trafficking, like there is robust happening, proactive work that's happening on the pilot side. But it's all being held up because for some reason this part is not being executed at the time that we're constantly told it's going to happen. So this has nothing to do with health. Everyone is doing their part. It's been what is going on over here. And why hold up the delivery of these services and getting them into the community to support them if we are still going to have a big question mark on this piece? So I just want to name, like, you all have been doing your part. We're just trying to figure out this part. And that seems like there's going to be an ongoing conversation. A number of us have heard the goal was 2025, the goal was 2026. We'll see if you all can rise to the occasion. But in the meantime, I think all of us would like to support this. And with that, I'll make the motion to forward it with approval.
Second.
All right.
I can't get in queue.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there I did.
There we go. Now it's working again. Okay. Chair Chowdhury.
I just wanted to say thank you for the thorough presentation and going through the process with us. I think it's like very helpful to kind of understand how this piece is aligning with the conversation around construction and like the considerations you have to make given this like question mark of a timeline. Like it was very, very illuminating to me. And I just like appreciate the amount of thought that you're putting into onboarding planning and where people are gonna be come December 1, right? And I think I would love if we're at December 1 and we're not seeing an opening to revisit this conversation to understand what that means for contractors. I'm sure you're going to be wondering that too. I've said it before, people have been waiting for the Southside Community Safety Center for a long time, myself included. But yeah, I'm glad to support it. Like it's really, really great work. And I appreciate that you took a couple extra cycles to just walk us through all of the different pieces. It was very helpful clarity. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Graves, want to join in thanking you and appreciating all of your work here. In particular, just hearing that the amount of thoughtfulness that you are putting into making sure that the start of services is on December 1 is so wonderful to hear. By that point, you will have spent almost a year trying to make sure that these services are available to our community. And the last thing I would want to see, and I think this body would want to see, is that come November, there's or maybe sooner than that, there's some discussions about another delay to the opening of the Southside Safety Center, and then what we see happen is you being put in the position of delaying these services. And so, you know, right now, since you are here and you are presenting to us, this seems like an appropriate time to tell you that we would actually really like for us to be able to, as Councilmember Wansley highlighted, return back to this conversation about the co-location of these services elsewhere in the interim, should there be another delay, which you know, has happened lots and lots of times before, and wouldn't be shocking if it happened again. Clerk, will you please call the roll on the approval of this item?
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville is absent. Vita is absent. Warren.
Aye.
Osman is absent. Schaefer.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Whiting.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Vice Chair Chuktai.
Aye.
And Chair Chowdhury.
Aye.
There are 10 ayes.
That motion That motion carries, and this item has been forwarded to Thursday's council meeting for consideration and approval. We are now ready to move to our final item of the day. It is 4:44. Right now, we have captioning services available until 5:30, so we need to be done by that time. I also understand there are colleagues that are going to need to get going for other planned scheduling things. So if there are, I just want to make sure we can maintain quorum to get through this this presentation. If you'll just let me know what your timeline is for leaving, we can plan from there. This presentation, our final one, is a receive and file item from City Clerk Casey Carl about the Legislative Department and its staffing updates. Mr. Clerk, welcome, and please begin your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you can't be first, be last. My name is Casey Carl. I have the privilege of serving as clerk of the City of Minneapolis, and as you noted, here to provide a status report on staffing in the Legislative Department. And I'd like to start with what I hope is the major takeaway from my presentation, and that is this. Through targeted investments, Council has built the infrastructure that it needs for effective governance. The following slides will show how. And in the interest of time, I'm going to skip over some slides. Here you can see, since late 2021, the Council has taken deliberate steps to design this new legislative department. I should say that the functions of the legislative department have been around since the city was incorporated in the late 1800s. However, in the aftermath of the adoption of the Executive Mayor Legislative Council structure by voters, this department was newly consolidated as part of our government structure omnibus ordinance. This slide then shows a sampling of reports, directives, and actions taken by the council tied to that ongoing work to develop this department. And while much of that work hasn't been highly visible, it has been consistent and intentional. Council has also backed investments to these investments from policy perspectives with investments in budgetary means. And some of those are shown on this slide. For example, we have created new leadership positions and new divisions to expand services and to enhance support for the council. We have reclassified positions across all of our divisions to reflect increasing professionalization in the legislative team. And we've modernized our core operating systems. This slide presents the department's organizational structure. The core components, as you can see, of the legislative department are the council, the clerk, and the auditor. Here I have circled for you the three newest divisions that were created in the last 5 years. It includes the Legislative Research and Oversight Division, or LRO, or in the clerk's office. As part of the adopted 2026 budget, council directed the clerk to report on progress to reclassify and hire positions in LRO. This presentation is directly responsive to that directive, but I've taken the opportunity to also address staff support and services more broadly provided for the City Council. And so the three highlighted in color divisions of the clerk's office are those that directly support the council: our operations division, legislative support, and of course, legislative research and oversight. Together, these three divisions account for 37 full-time positions and about $5 million of the clerk's budget. The takeaway there is that the bulk of the city clerk's resources are focused on serving and supporting city council. This slide presents data from 2 analyses of city councils across the United States in comparable jurisdictions. The first was a landscape analysis conducted by our own LRO. The second was a comprehensive review by Guidehouse. 5 cities were included in both of those studies, shown on this slide. They include San Diego, Seattle, Milwaukee, Columbus, and Denver. All 5 of those cities are charter cities. They all have city charters. They operate under a strong mayor structure and have a full-time council that has its own dedicated department and resources. This slide identifies the services and functions that are provided by those legislative departments in those comparable jurisdictions. For consistency, we've batched them together into 5 categories: research and analysis, fiscal policy and oversight, legislative support, operations, and outreach and communications. And so what this slide shows is that Minneapolis City Council now has the capacity that is the same or similar to these peer cities. In other words, as I started, we've laid the foundation for a modern, professional, municipal legislative department. In summary, in a very short period of time, we have established the new legislative department. We built out its core operating structure. We filled critical leadership positions. We expanded capacity for both service and functions through dedicated staffing and systems. And we've aligned our structure and operations with benchmark cities across the nation. The remaining work is more targeted, and it would include completing our final classifications of a handful of positions, recruiting and hiring for existing vacancies, and then completing a department business plan that's aligned with the current council term. In closing, I'll reiterate that it's my opinion the council has created the infrastructure it needs to support its work. Our design is comparable to other jurisdictions, and that design provides the necessary capacity to support the council now and into the future. Going forward, I believe our focus will shift from building capacity to optimizing our performance, and from there, obviously, to addressing long-term sustainability. And with that, Madam Vice Chair, I'm happy to respond to questions the committee might have.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Colleagues, are there any questions or discussion? I'll recognize Council President Payne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Carl. I really appreciate the thoroughness of this, and this is building on a theme around making sure that the new government structure is fully staffed and supported. So the first 2 years of this new structure was almost exclusively focused on reorganizing the administration. And the second 2 years, we really laid the foundation from an investment perspective on building up our capacity on the legislative side. And I'm really looking forward to the next 4 years, making sure that we're deploying that capacity in a way that better fits this governing model.
Reflects the investments this body has made in its own department. Thank you.
And what a privilege it is. I'm not seeing anyone else in queue. Mr. Clerk, thank you for coming in to present on this item. Both, it's always wonderful to hear updates about what we are doing in our own department to ensure that the front-facing services, many of which we provide and you oversee, are the very best they can possibly be, and to make sure that all council members are on the same page about what resources are available to them in their offices to best serve the constituents that we are working with every day. I am not seeing anyone else in queue, so I will ask the clerks to file that presentation. And seeing no further business before us and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I'll just note fastest, shortest presentation